Chapter 4105. Roar roar roar. The 8 great sage people were dead, and the beasts roared uneasily. The others were also dumbfounded. The 8 strongest experts on their side had been killed in an instant? Hurry up and run. These people ran frantically, but as soon as they moved, their foreheads were pierced by the sword chi. Including the beasts pulling the chariot, they all fell in the void. They were all killed in an instant. None of them were alive. The corpses floated in the air and blood filled the air. What happened? What the hell is going on? In the bronze chariot, the girl was completely stunned. She could already smell the stench of blood outside. Who could exterminate so many experts of the Green Flood Dragon clan? It must be an extremely terrifying expert. It didn't seem to be someone from their tribe. It must be someone passing by. These people from the Green Dragon tribe had angered this person. Thinking of this, she didn't even dare to breathe. After Lin Xian killed these people, he wanted to leave, but he frowned. He turned around and looked behind him. He could clearly feel the presence of someone in the bronze chariot. With a wave of his hand, he split the bronze chariot in half. Boom boom boom. The chariot was split in half, and the girl's veil was also split open. She suddenly opened her eyes. She was completely stunned. The scene around her, the mountains of corpses and the sea of blood, terrified her. At this moment, there were still tears on her face. Sealed? It didn't seem to be a group. Lin Xian waved his hand and released the seal on the girl. Then he said, "All right, they are all dead. You can leave now." Then he turned around and wanted to leave. The girl behind was stunned. He didn't kill her, and he even released her seal in an instant. It was really unbelievable. Seeing that he was about to leave, she exclaimed. Lin Xian stopped in front and asked, "Is there anything else? May I know my benefactor's name? I will repay my benefactor in the future." Bai Qianshan was very grateful. She thought that she would fall into the abyss and live a life worse than death. She didn't expect that someone would save her on the way, although this person did it unintentionally. But after all, he helped her escape from the demon's clutches. Forget about the name. Lin Xian shook his head. If he said his name, it would probably scare the girl. However, as for repaying a debt of gratitude, don't tell me that I really have something to ask you. Benefactor, please say it. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it, Bai Qianshan said excitedly. If he asked her to give herself to him now, she would agree without hesitation. The reason for that was because the person in front of him looked very young and very handsome. More importantly, he was powerful. Even a late minor saint expert was killed by him in an instant. This person might very well be a holy venerate. Hence, Bai Qianshan felt very nervous. Do you know where there are large-scale teleportation arrays in the nearby star realms? It was the kind of teleportation array that could cross many starry skies. Lin Xian had originally just asked casually because he felt that this kind of teleportation array was usually only found in places like large factions. It would be very difficult to find one elsewhere. However, Bai Qianshan nodded her head vigorously. Benefactor, I know. You know? Lin Xian was stunned. In the next moment, she revealed a smile. Take me there. With a wave of his hand, a huge sword light enveloped Bai Qianshan before disappearing into the void. During the flight, Lin Xian understood that there really was a world nearby. It had such a large-scale teleportation array. This world didn't belong to a certain holy city, but to the ancient race. The ancient 10,000 races were all terrifyingly powerful races with extremely powerful bloodlines. Hence, it wasn't a problem for these people to own a world and have a super teleportation array. This world was called Flying Star, which was Lin Xian's target this time. As for the woman he saved, Lin Xian had a certain understanding of her. Her name was Bai Qianshan, and she was from the ancient White Crane race. This time she was forced to marry someone from the Green Flood Dragon race, which was stronger than the White Crane race. Hence, Bai Qianshan became a sacrifice and went to marry the young master of the Green Flood Dragon race. Originally, Bai Qianshan resisted with her life, but who would have thought that she would be sealed in an instant? She couldn't die even if she wanted to. Fortunately, Lin Xian had stepped in and saved her by accident. Otherwise, one could only imagine her fate in the future. Green Flood Dragon race. White Crane race. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. They were all from the ancient race. Bai Qianshan asked for Lin Xian's name. Lin Xian thought for a moment and said, "Teach me how to comprehend the sword." He was currently comprehending the sword Dao, so he casually came up with a name. Moreover, Lin Xian used the dragon-shaped sword energy to form a mask. He wore it on his face. He didn't want to attract attention this time, so he hid his identity and changed his name. Big brother Wu Jian, the flying star is in front of us. Bai Qianshan pointed at a huge star in front of them. Lin Xian nodded. As expected of the ancient race, this star was much bigger than the others. Soon they entered the clouds and entered the flying star. Lin Xian asked, "How can I activate that super teleportation array?" Bai Qianshan said that the city lord of this world had to agree. As for the city lord in Primordial City, there would be a few battles there. As long as one could win 81 battles there in a row, they could make a request to the city lord. "Big brother Wu Jian, you're so strong, so it shouldn't be a problem." He knew it wouldn't be so easy to use the teleportation array. However, it wouldn't be a problem if it was just a challenge. Next, the two of them set off for Immemorial City. Immemorial City was very famous in the Star Realm. It could even be said to be the holy land of this world. It wasn't just the people of this world. The geniuses of the nearby star realms would run to Immemorial City when they had nothing to do. After all, this place had a huge attraction. If one could win 81 battles in a row, any request could be fulfilled. Of course, if one wanted to live forever, they would probably be beaten out. If one wanted to ask for something, they had to ask for something that Immemorial City could accept. For example, some precious cultivation techniques, mystical abilities, natural treasures or beauties. Even some experts and geniuses of the holy city would come. After all, some people wanted to improve through battle. And this kind of challenge was the most suitable. Of course, most of them were ancient race experts. These ancient race people had powerful bloodlines and talents. They couldn't be underestimated. As they flew, they finally saw a huge object on the horizon. It was Immemorial City. How was this a city? It was even bigger than a country. On the majestic city walls, there were mottled swords and sabers. It had a primordial aura, and it had been standing for tens of thousands of years. Perhaps the other party had already witnessed the arrival and fall of countless geniuses. "Friends in front, quickly land. Don't you know that you can't fly into Immemorial City?" At this moment, a voice came from behind. Hearing this, Lin Xian stopped and looked at Bai Qianshan. Bai Qianshan said, "This is my first time here too." "Is this your first time here?" the person behind asked. It was a war chariot with 3 people standing on it. 2 men and a woman. The 3 of them sized up Lin Xian and Bai Qianshan curiously. When they saw Lin Xian, they frowned slightly. They couldn't see his face clearly because he was wearing a mask. Moreover, they couldn't see his cultivation level clearly. Soon they gave up. The 2 men looked at Bai Qianshan with a glint in their eyes. What a beautiful woman. And from the looks of it, her bloodline was extraordinary. "Which race is this fairy from?" The red-robed man took the lead and walked over. Chapter 4106. "I am from the 100 Crane clan. This is brother Wu Jian," Qianshan said. "So is Fairy Bai." The red-robed man smiled and greeted her. "My name is Huiyuan. I am from the Fire Vine clan. My 2 friends are brother and sister. They are from the Mountain Pangolin clan." The black-robed man said, "My name is Chuan Shui." The black-robed woman smiled and said, "My name is Dong Ling." The 2 men looked at Bai Qianshan from the beginning to the end. They didn't even look at Lin Xian. At this moment, Dong Ling smiled and said, she didn't know which clan he was from. Bai Qianshan said that this was brother Wu Jian. He was a very powerful swordsman. A human martial artist? The 3 of them were surprised. A hint of disdain appeared in the eyes of Huiyuan and Dong Ling, but they didn't say anything. Instead, they said that since it was their first time here, why not come with them? They didn't wait for Lin Xian to answer and directly led the way. "Brother Wu Dao." Bai Qianshan asked for Lin Xian's opinion. Lin Xian shrugged. It would be great if there was someone to lead the way. Next, they were unimpeded and soon arrived at the city. As soon as they entered the ancient city, they felt a tsunami-like roar. There was a terrifying law in front of them. Bai Qianshan's face was slightly pale. This power really shocked her. Lin Xian was expressionless. He had long heard that there would be a challenge here, so he wasn't too surprised. "How is it? Is it your first time here? Are you shocked by this scene? When you arrive, you will be even more shocked." Huiyuan laughed in front. In his opinion, these 2 people were scared silly. Of course, he only saw Bai Qianshan's expression and didn't see Lin Xian's. Because Lin Xian was wearing a mask, he didn't think that this human in front of him wouldn't be afraid. Not long after, they saw one arena after another in front of them. They were fighting at the same time. Countless cultivators were watching and cheering in the surroundings. These arenas were extraordinary. They were passed down from the ancient race and had extremely strong defensive arrays on them. They could prevent energy and protect the surrounding spectators. However, the aura they emitted still shocked countless people. "Guemo! Guemo!" Many people in the surroundings were shouting crazily. Soon, their voices became uniform and shook the 9 heavens. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked over. In the largest arena in the middle, the outcome of the battle had already been decided. A man in black armor easily defeated the enemy. At this moment he was waving his hand and accepting the cheers of these people. Seeing this, Huiyuan smiled. Did you guys know that his name is Kuei-Mo and he is very powerful? He had already won 50 consecutive victories and was very close to 81 consecutive victories. Was he that powerful? Bai Qianqian opened her mouth wide. That's natural. Huiyuan smiled as if he knew everything. It was not easy to win 81 matches in a row. Even winning 70 matches in a row was very difficult. It was said that no one had been able to win 81 matches in a row for several hundred years. Really? Bai Qianqian exclaimed. Although she knew the legend of the primeval city, she didn't know the specifics. Of course, it was very difficult to win 81 matches in a row. It was probably impossible. For Kuei-Mo to be able to win 50 matches in a row was already very heaven-defying. Bai Qianqian nodded, but then she smiled. Others might not be able to do it, but Brother Wu Jian could definitely do it. What? Huiyuan was stunned. Was it the masked man next to him? He could win 81 matches in a row? What a joke. The pangolin siblings also laughed. They were laughing at Bai Qianqian's ignorance. However, Bai Qianqian didn't know. She looked at Lin Xian and said excitedly, Brother Wu Jian, when are you going to go on stage? Lin Xian said, wait first. Let's look at the rules here first. Since the other party said that no one has been able to succeed for several hundred years, there must be something wrong. This meant that there must be some secret here. Otherwise, it was impossible that no one had succeeded. He had to figure it out first before making a move. He didn't want to waste any more time. As for the flies beside him, he completely ignored them. They were just clowns and couldn't enter his eyes. If they really dared to provoke him, he would just kill them with a sword. At this moment, countless gazes were looking at Kuei-Mo. The armor on Kuei-Mo's body released a terrifying aura as he laughed. Come, continue. I must break the curse of not being able to win consecutively. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, the ground trembled. A mountain-like figure jumped up and then landed fiercely. His skin was very white, but there was a single horn on his huge head. This was a rhinoceros saint. His aura was very strong. He had already reached the middle stage. It was useless. It was over. The rhinoceros's voice was very terrifying. He directly attacked. This was a demon saint with boundless strength. He could destroy heaven and earth at any time. Everyone was worried for Kuei-Mo. However, after 3 moves, everyone screamed. Because after 3 weeks, the rhinoceros saint was defeated. Countless screams and shouts sounded. Everyone went crazy for the power. Bai Qianqian was also stunned. This Kuei-Mo was so powerful. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He was even more powerful than the ordinary powerhouses of the holy city. But that was it. He was still not his match. It seemed that he could easily win 50 matches in a row. After that, he probably wouldn't even ask before 70 matches. However, after 70 matches, there would probably be a problem. But he still didn't know what it was. The rhinoceros saint's shattered body healed and he left the arena dejectedly. Not long after, another powerhouse challenged Kuei-Mo, wanting to snipe his chances of winning. However, many people were defeated. This scene surprised Bai Qianqian even more. Even Huiyuan and the other 2 exclaimed in surprise. As expected of a terrifying expert. Sorry to disturb you. At this moment, a voice sounded. Everyone turned to look at the forest. Xian discovered that it was an old man who was about a meter tall. He had blue skin and pointed ears. His eyes were also blue. It seemed that he wasn't human. He was also one of the 10,000 ancient races. Huiyuan and the others were originally unhappy. What kind of status did they have to be disturbed? However, when he saw the jade token on the old man's waist, he was stunned. What was the matter with this old senior? Huiyuan revealed an even more genial smile. The old man waved his hand and a blue light screen appeared, forming a seal. It enveloped the entire space and then disappeared. Although it couldn't be seen from the outside, Lin Xian knew that this was an isolation array formation. Now, their conversation could not be overheard by anyone other than them. He didn't expect this old man to be an array formation expert. He didn't know what this old fellow wanted to say. He actually made it so mysterious. After the old man set up the array formation, he smiled and said, "Are you interested in helping me?" "What help?" Bai Qianqian was surprised. Huiyuan and the other 2 didn't say anything. The blue-skinned old man said, "Help us fight and snipe Kuei-Mo's chances of winning." "Isn't that cheating?" Bai Qianqian exclaimed. Huiyuan and the other 2's expressions changed. "Fairy Bai, don't talk nonsense. The old man didn't get angry. He chuckled. How could it be considered cheating? We just want to make the challenge more interesting. If it wasn't difficult, then our immemorial ancient city wouldn't be so popular. Sure enough, Hui Yuan and the other two nodded. It seemed that they knew about this rule. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. No wonder. The further they went, the more experts they would find to snipe. In addition, it was a tag team battle. There would probably be one round that they would lose. Especially the last few rounds, they would probably be very terrifying experts. Chapter 4107. Lin Xian frowned. No matter what, this old man was a late minor saint. Couldn't he see that Hui Yuan and the other two weren't Kuemo's match? Hui Yuan and the other two knew their limits. They said, I'm afraid it'll be hard for us to defeat that guy. The blue-skinned old man smiled. Don't worry. We won't let you win. We want you to exhaust him with all your strength. Leave the rest to us. Of course, we won't let you fight for free. As long as you fight, we'll give each of you 5 Purple Thunder 9 Revolutions pills. Really? Hui Yuan and the other two's eyes lit up, revealing a fiery gaze. Obviously, this pill was very effective for minor saints. How about it, Brother Chuanshan? Hui Yuan turned his head and looked at the black-robed siblings. The black-robed man Chuan Shui said, All right. The black-robed woman Dong Ling shook her head. I won't participate. You two go ahead. In the end, Chuan Shui and Hui Yuan decided to participate. Both of them were mid-minor saints and their strength was very strong. Of course, both of them weren't from the younger generation. They were estimated to be between 1,500 to 2,000 years old. Such a cultivation at such a young age might be very amazing in the eyes of outsiders. However, in Lin Xian's eyes they were nothing. Of course he didn't say anything. He was just like a spectator. Very soon, Kuei Yuan stopped because he only needed to fight 10 rounds before he could stop. This was a form of protection for the challengers. Otherwise, the challengers would be exhausted to death by taking turns. Hui Yuan and the other two were also preparing to fight tomorrow. Soon the second day arrived and the sun rose. When Kuei Mo returned to the arena, countless people screamed crazily. Bai Qianshan's face was also filled with excitement. She rarely saw such a scene. On the other side, Dong Ling's eyes were also filled with infatuation. After all, experts were worshipped by others. Human boy, take a good look. I'll let you know what an immemorial expert is. She looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Lin Xian ignored her. Kuei Mo's strength was about the same as Yu Quan. Of course he was older than Yu Quan. Lin Xian didn't put such strength in his eyes. Therefore there was no need to pay attention to him. He looked around and was suddenly taken aback. He noticed that a figure had appeared on the spectator stands in the distance. The aura of this figure was very obscure, but it was enough to make one's heart palpitate. This wasn't the first time Lin Xian had sensed this aura, especially after his eye technique and soul had improved. He could clearly sense that this was the aura of a sacred sovereign. The other party was wearing a large black robe that covered everything. However, Lin Xian could clearly see that under the black robes were ancient clothes. It looked like an ancient Taoist robe. There was a vivid and lifelike 5-clawed divine dragon drawn on it. This shocked Lin Xian. This person's identity was definitely not ordinary. At the same time, he saw that there was another person beside the black-robed man. However, he recognized him at a glance. It was the blue-skinned old man from yesterday. The other party was very respectful towards the black-robed man. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Could it be that this person was the city lord of Primordial City? Suddenly, he withdrew his gaze and the golden light in his eyes disappeared. The aura of his body also weakened in an instant. It was as if he had fallen asleep. It turned out that the black-robed man suddenly frowned and looked over. What's wrong? City Lord? The blue-skinned old man was surprised. The city lord of Primordial City retracted his gaze. Just now, I felt that someone was spying on me, but I couldn't find out who it was. Someone actually dared to steal from the city lord. Should I send my subordinates to investigate and get rid of him? There's no need. There are always some bold guys. There's no need to pay attention to them. I wonder how it will be today. Will it be able to end his competition? The city lord of Primordial City asked coldly. The blue-skinned old man smiled. Don't worry, city lord. It will definitely end his competition. We will end it at the 69th round. The next few rounds had already been agreed upon. It seemed that these people were very confident. Next, the competition began. One after another, experts moved out. However, none of them were a match for Kuei Mo. Their purpose was to exhaust his strength. When the 6th person appeared, Huiyuan went up. Humans watched carefully. Dong Ling sneered again. It had to be said that Huiyuan was very strong. He displayed an extremely strong flame from the beginning, causing countless people to scream. So strong. That's right, where did Primordial City find such an expert? Countless people exclaimed. Huiyuan's 2 fire pain vines kept whipping. They were comparable to sacred artifacts. All kinds of fire laws filled the air. After an intense collision, Huiyuan was defeated. Next, the 7th person to go up was Chuan Shui. As a pangolin, he could specialize in assassinations underground. He could be considered to be elusive. However, after 15 moves he was still kicked out by Kuemo. The 7 people were defeated, causing countless people to scream. Kuemo was too strong. However, Kueyuan's face was a little pale. The opponent this time was much stronger than yesterday. He had fought 7 rounds in a row and he didn't have much strength left. Moreover, the rules of the competition stated that he couldn't consume pills or natural treasures. Therefore, the following battles would be even more difficult. When Lin Xian saw this scene, he shook his head and smiled. Damn human brat, what are you laughing at? When Dong Ling saw this scene, she was instantly furious. Was the other party laughing at her brother? I'm laughing. This is what you want me to look good. What's there to look good about being defeated? Damn it. Dong Ling gritted her teeth. A human brat dared to be so arrogant? Huiyuan and Chuan Shui also returned. When they heard this, their faces darkened. Human brat, we let you follow us because of White Fairy. If you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us for killing you. This was the territory of the 10,000 ancient races. Although humans could come here, they were very low-key here. Who dared to laugh at them like this? Just a few ants like you dare to say such words to me? I spared your lives because of Chan Chan. If there's a next time, I'll definitely destroy your souls. After saying that, Lin Xian directly walked forward. Brat, how arrogant! Huiyuan and the others shouted angrily. By Chan Chan persuaded, oh, don't quarrel. Huiyuan said, White Fairy, although I'm giving you face, this brat is too arrogant. I can spare his life, but I have to teach him a lesson. By Chan Chan said, I'm not worried about brother Wu Jin, I'm worried about you guys. Don't fight with him or you will die miserably. What? Huiyuan and the others were stunned. They would die miserably? What a joke. That brat wasn't even a small saint. White Fairy, have you been fooled by this human being? Dong Ling also frowned. Bai Chan Chan shook her head. Brother Wu Jin was very powerful. She remembered the previous scene. When she opened her eyes, the 8 small saints were already dead. What kind of power was this? Of course she wouldn't say it. But if these people dared to provoke Lin Xian, they were really courting death. Damn, look at what that human brat is doing. Suddenly Dong Ling screamed at this time. Huiyuan and Chuan Shui also looked forward. The next moment they laughed. Did the other party want to challenge them? Chapter 4108. Kuei-mo's defeat made countless people exclaim because he was the most likely person to break the record, but he still lost. He didn't even complete the 70th round and lost at the 69th round. It made people sigh. At this moment, a gaze attracted the attention of those people. They realized that someone was walking towards the central arena again. Could it be that someone wanted to challenge again? Who was Chang Tianya? The blue-skinned old man also saw this scene and narrowed his eyes. He went forward and asked. Then, the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. Cultivation was another thing to be happy about. Because someone wanted to challenge the 81 win streak. Let us welcome this challenger, Wu Jian. Who was Wu Jian? The surrounding onlookers were stunned. They had never heard of this name. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, a figure finally arrived on the arena. Everyone opened their eyes wide and looked carefully. They wanted to see who it was that dared to challenge at this time. Soon they were stunned. They saw a man wearing a mask walk up. The other party stood with his hands behind his back. The aura on his body was very vague. It was impossible to determine what realm he was in. Who was this person? I heard that he was called Wu Jian. I don't know. Is he more famous than Kuei-mo? Why do I feel like he's a newcomer? It can't be, right? A newcomer dares to challenge? Doesn't he know how Kuei-mo was defeated? Screams and exclamations rang out. In the distance, Huiyuan and the other 2 sneered when they saw this scene. Did the other party really go up? He didn't know what was good for him. Did he think that he was stronger than Kuei-mo? Just wait. He will definitely lose within 3 rounds. Huiyuan's eyes were filled with disdain. On the other side, Dong Ling snorted. I don't think there's a need for 3 rounds. He won't be able to win 1 round. She mocked and ridiculed. However, on the other side, Bai Chan Chan was incomparably excited. She clenched her small fists. Brother Wu Jian, you can do it. You can definitely break the record. Kuei-mo also saw it. He saw a human youth walk up and wanted to replace him to complete the task that he couldn't complete. This made him feel very unhappy. If he couldn't complete it, how could the other party complete it? You don't know what's good for you. I want to see where you got the capital from. When the time comes, even your family's fortune will be lost. One had to know that not everyone could casually go up and become a challenger. He wanted to challenge her. They had to pay the entrance fee first, which was also a shocking amount of wealth. He guessed that the other party must have taken all of their assets to be able to afford the tickets. Lin Xian said indifferently as he stood on the stage and looked around. I've heard that no one has broken the record for hundreds of years, so I'll be the one to break it this time. Who would be the first to come? His gaze shifted to his surroundings. He was like a high and mighty god. As soon as these words came out, it caused the surrounding people to exclaim in surprise. This brat really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I'll go and meet him. Someone rushed down from the stands. In the 81 battles, anyone could go up and snipe. However, just to be on the safe side, once someone displayed an extremely powerful strength, Immemorial City would secretly spend a high price to bribe experts to go up and snipe them. For example, the blue-skinned old man from before had used pills to buy a fire source. As for Kuei-mo, he had indeed been defeated by them. Therefore this kind of move was very common. Generally speaking, only those who had reached Kuei-mo's level would be able to attract the attention of those people. Otherwise, Immemorial City probably wouldn't have bothered to send people over. Therefore, the first saint to come up was someone who couldn't stand it. He felt that Lin Xian's tone was too arrogant. Go to hell. He waved his axe with a powerful aura that could split mountains and rivers. On it, endless runes filled the air. So powerful. Even a fifth heaven sage would be split in half by this attack. That masked brat is dead for sure. Many people sneered. Lin Xian looked at this scene. He didn't make a move at all, nor did he dodge. A golden light appeared in his eyes. With a plop, the giant axe stood on the ground in front of him. A terrifying thunderclap sounded. The burly man's body swayed and he fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth and unconscious. What happened? Did he miss? The surrounding spectators were all stunned. This attack actually missed. And what shocked them was, what happened to that burly man? It seemed that he had fainted. Did that brat make a move? No, we didn't see him. Could it be that his speed was so fast that it surpassed our soul capture? The surrounding people screamed crazily. However, the experts shook their heads. No, we didn't catch him either. These were all small saints. If they couldn't catch his speed, how fast was he? It was absolutely impossible. In other words, the other party didn't make a move at all. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Hui Yuan and the others had ugly expressions. Did that burly man have a heart attack? Dong Ling snorted coldly. If you're not in good health, don't come out and embarrass yourself. Get lost. The surrounding people also felt the same way. The burly man must be injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fainted as soon as he made a move. The burly man was carried away. No one knew whether he was dead or alive. Lin Xian was still standing there. In everyone's opinion, this time the other party was just lucky. It was impossible for the second person to be so lucky. Soon the second person rushed up. He swept his long spear like a dragon with an extremely powerful aura. The terrifying law of fire filled the air. He charged toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian still didn't move. He still glanced at the other party. Puff. The spear missed, and the expert who attacked also fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. Oh my God, what's going on? The surrounding people were stunned again. Could it be that this person's health was also not good? Hui Yuan and the others were shocked again. Then the third, fourth, and fifth person's attacks all missed. Then they fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth, unconscious. At this moment, even a fool knew that it was absolutely impossible that all five of them were not in good health. They must have been hit. What kind of attack was it? It was so fast that they couldn't detect it. Finally, someone screamed. It wasn't him. He should have used a soul attack. Was it a soul attack? No wonder. Soul attacks were strange and abnormal, killing people without leaving a trace. No wonder they couldn't see it clearly. They didn't expect this guy to be a soul expert. Brother Wu Jian was too awesome. Bai Qian cheered. Hui Yuan and the others' faces were ugly. A soul expert? It was indeed beyond their expectations. They felt extremely unhappy. There are only 5 people. It's still too far away. I estimate that there will be at most 10 people. They definitely won't be able to reach the 20th round. But soon they were stunned because the next 5 people went on the stage in a row. But in just a second they fell to the ground, fainted from the illusion. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xian had won 10 consecutive rounds. This record was nothing in the past. After all, Kuei Mo was the one who attracted attention. Many people could achieve 10 consecutive wins. But to do it so easily and quickly, Lin Xian was probably the first. Therefore, countless screams sounded. Chapter 4109. Next, the experts became more cautious. They paid special attention to their surroundings and didn't even dare to look at their opponent's eyes. However, it was still useless. Lin Xian's soul was extremely powerful. How could these people be his opponent? Therefore, 10 people fell in a blink of an eye. He had already won 20 consecutive victories. The entire process didn't even take half an incense stick's time. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze. It was as if they were dreaming. Huiyuan, Chuan Shui and Dong Ling's lips twitched. Such a soul made them feel terrified. This was definitely a difficult opponent. Damn it. They actually had such an expert around them. They actually looked down on such a person. This was enough to threaten them. Kuei Mo's expression was incomparably solemn. No wonder his opponent dared to challenge him. It turned out that he had a soul as his trump card. On the other side, the blue-skinned old man frowned. Even the city lord of Immemorial City was surprised. Soul experts were extremely rare. They didn't expect one to appear naturally. Next, some people took out their soul defense equipment. However, it was still useless. Soon he won 25 consecutive victories. Kuei Mo frowned. When he challenged Yi Shiwen, he won 25 consecutive victories on the first day. Then he stopped. Was Yi Shiwen going to continue? He realized that Yi Shiwen didn't even move from the beginning to the end. He could win the battle just by looking at his opponent. What kind of method was this? He felt a little terrified and his hair stood on end. Sure enough, Lin Xian won again. Kid, you've gone too far. I can't stand it anymore. During the 30th battle, a figure finally walked out. It was an old man. His skin was as black as charcoal, and there was a star between his eyebrows that was abnormally bright. It was like a third eye. He was from the Black Heart clan. It was obvious that he was an expert of the older generation. His strength had reached the early minor saint realm. However, compared to an ordinary minor saint, he was probably much stronger. Huiyuan and the others took a deep breath. Such an old expert should be able to contend with Yi Shiwen, right? At least, he wouldn't let Yi Shiwen win so easily. The others thought so too. However, Bai Qianshan didn't care. She knew that Lin Xian had killed 8 great sage lords with a single sword strike, and 2 of them were late little saints. Therefore, an expert of the older generation was nothing at all. He was not even considered a side dish. Kid, your soul is strong, but I have the power of my bloodline. The old man cut his finger. He used his blood to stain the star between his eyebrows, turning it blood red. Boundless light surrounded him, firmly defending his soul. That's great. The surrounding people cheered when they saw this. The stars between the eyebrows of the members of the Blackheart clan were indeed capable of protecting their souls. Not to mention he was a veteran expert. Without his soul attack he would most likely die, right? Kill. The old man laughed sinisterly and charged out. This time he wanted to snipe the other party. Die. A black blade formed in the old man's hand and slashed forward. However, before the blade fell, he saw a pair of golden eyes. Then his heart began to beat wildly. In the next moment, he knelt on the ground and frothed at the mouth, unconscious. What? The surrounding people had all gone crazy. Even the senior expert of the Blackheart clan couldn't withstand a single gaze? How strong was this kid's soul? I'm afraid an early little saint wouldn't be a match for him. Impossible. Huiyuan and the other 2 screamed. Dong Ling's face was incomparably pale. This kind of method had already exceeded their imagination. Kuei Mo's face was gloomy. 30 consecutive victories. His opponent's record was already better than his on the first day. Could it be that his opponent's strength was above his? He didn't believe it. Next, the competition continued. Those who came up had soul defensive weapons. Otherwise they wouldn't dare to come. Even so, it was useless. No matter how they dodged or defended, Lin Xian's gaze was enough to make them fall to the ground. After an incense stick burned out, the 50th person fell to the ground. Lin Xian shook his neck and stretched his body. The surrounding people opened their mouths wide and their eyes bulged. Their eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. 50 consecutive victories. 50 consecutive victories in an incense stick's time. Was he trying to defy the heavens? Kuei Mo's face was extremely gloomy. On the first day he only had 25 consecutive victories. Moreover, it took him more than half a day. But now, his opponent had won 50 consecutive victories in an incense stick's time. He had completely surpassed him. He had used 3 days to achieve 50 consecutive victories. How could there be such a human expert? Who was this guy? Why hadn't he heard of him before? Huiyuan and the other two's bodies trembled. Such a person's strength had probably surpassed them. They had dared to ridicule him before. It seemed like they were courting death. Fortunately, his opponent didn't bother with them. Who else wants to continue? Why don't we win 81 matches today? Lin Xian said indifferently. He didn't have time to play with these people. Behind the crowd, the immemorial city lord looked at this scene and harumphed coldly. His opponent was too arrogant. The blue-skinned old man also received the order. He walked over and said loudly, "All right, you've fought 50 matches. You're already several times stronger than the others. So you can take a break first. Let's continue tomorrow." Oh my god, the people around me have all gone crazy. Because previously, only the challengers would choose to give up and continue on the next day. They were afraid that their strength would be exhausted. There had never been an immemorial city lord who took the initiative to stop the battle. What did this mean? Immemorial city lord couldn't do anything to him now. Thinking of this possibility, they swallowed their saliva. Continue tomorrow? Lin Xian frowned slightly. To be honest, he didn't want to delay time. But after thinking about it, he sighed. Forget it. After all, he still had to borrow the other party's array. He couldn't not give the other party face. So he said, "All right, I'm tired too. Let's continue tomorrow." He walked down. At this moment, Lin Xian stopped. He felt a soul looking at him. It seemed like it wanted to see through him. He turned his head and looked into the distance. The next moment, their gazes collided in the air. A large crack was instantly torn in the void. The surrounding people were so frightened that they screamed crazily. What was going on? Did someone make a move outside? Lin Xian retracted his gaze and left in large strides. On the other side, the immemorial city lord's face sank. The other party was actually able to sense him. Moreover, he was able to block his gaze. It was really too inconceivable. What shocked him even more was that he couldn't see through the other party's mask. So he didn't know who the other party was. Go investigate his background for me. Also, get some experts for me. On the second day, I won't let him get what he wants. Prepare more soul defense saint artifacts. I know. The blue-skinned old man beside him quickly moved. On the other side, Lin Xian returned to Bai Chanshan's side. Big brother Wu Jin, you're really too handsome. Bai Chanshan was very excited. Her eyes were filled with little stars. Chapter 41:10. Bus. Lin Xian's gaze landed on the three of them. The three of them were so frightened that they retreated. What do you want to do? Dong Ling screamed. She was really scared. She had mocked him before. If he used a soul attack on her, she would probably be foaming at the mouth. She did not want to be in such a sorry state. Huiyuan and Chuan Shui were also facing a great enemy. He said, "Young master, we did not recognize Mount Tai before. We offended young master, please forgive us. Young master, please forgive our ignorance." You mean what happened before? Forget it. Lin Xian shook his head. He did not care at all. After all, why would a giant dragon care about ants? He said, "Is there a place to rest?" "I need to rest." "Yes, young master, this way please." Huiyuan and the other two quickly led the way. When they came before, they were as noble as unparalleled gods. But now they were like little brothers. They tried their best to curry favor with Lin Xian. Their attitude before and after was really a huge contrast. When night came, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. He did not consume too much of his soul before. He was just cultivating. In the middle of the night, a figure entered the palace and approached it. Lin Xian opened his eyes. Was someone trying to assassinate him? He thought it was the people of Immemorial City. They felt that he had shown off too much before and wanted to attack him. But soon he realized that it was not. Although it was dark, he could see clearly that it was a woman who came in. And he recognized her. It was Dong Ling from the day. At this moment, Dong Ling quietly came to Lin Xian's side like a stray cat. She no longer had the arrogance of the day. Instead, she had a hint of charm. And her clothes were very wild. It seemed like she came with a purpose. "Young master, let me serve you." Dong Ling's voice was very pleasant. However, Lin Xian did not move. He said coldly, "Scram." A Dong Ling's body stiffened in the air. Her face became very ugly. Although it was dark, she could still feel her cheeks burning. "Young master, could it be that you're still shy?" She thought that Lin Xian would be reserved, so she leaned forward again. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. A gust of wind blew him away. "Ah." Dong Ling screamed and fell out of the palace. Sister, how are you? Outside, Chuan Shui has been waiting in the dark. When he saw Dongling being beaten out of the arena, he immediately walked over and helped Dongling up with an anxious look on his face. Could it be that you angered him? Dong Ling gritted her teeth. Damn it, he actually looked down on me. What? He didn't take a fancy to you? Chuan Shui was also stunned. Although his sister was arrogant, she was beautiful. She was extremely beautiful, and many ancient race experts and geniuses were pursuing her. However, today his younger sister had taken the initiative to throw herself into his arms. In the end, the other party had kicked her out. This was too inconceivable. Now I really wonder if he's a man. Dong Ling gritted her teeth. Chuan Shui's complexion changed. His little sister could not speak irresponsibly. She could not offend the young master. She knew that Lin Xian's soul was extremely powerful, so she said, "Young master, don't worry. Perhaps young master is focused on the Tao and doesn't want to think about other things. Let's go." The two of them left dejectedly. Inside the palace, Lin Xian snorted and shook his head slightly. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. This Dong Ling might be beautiful in the eyes of others, but Lin Xian's women were all peerless beauties. Even 100 Donglings added together wouldn't be enough. How could Lin Xian be moved by them? The night gradually receded, and the sun rose on the second day. Immemorial City was once again packed with people. This time, there were even more people because yesterday's matter had been completely spread. The entire Flying Heaven Star knew that a human soul expert had come. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn 50 consecutive victories. This was something that most people couldn't believe. Hence, they wanted to see for themselves how strong the other party was. On the other side, in the depths of Immemorial City, the floor master and his deputy stood. He asked, "How's the matter going?" The blue-skinned old man smiled. "Don't worry, floor master. I've already contacted many experts. It's enough to snipe him. Today, we'll also make him lose at the 69th round. And we've already gathered enough soul defense divine artifacts. This time we'll definitely be able to defend against his soul. Even if we can't defend against it, we'll be able to offset most of it." Yes. Hearing this, Immemorial City's floor master nodded in satisfaction. Yesterday's matter was too sudden, so much so that they were caught off guard. 50 people were all defeated in an instant, causing them to lose face. Hence, today they had to earn back their face. "Go, don't hold back today. Let that kid know our strength." A group of people walked out. On the other side of the arena, Lin Xian had already come up. He stood with his hands behind his back. The mask on his face emitted a cold radiance. The surrounding people were screaming non-stop. "So handsome." Some of the girls were about to faint from happiness. Those warriors were also incomparably excited. They were discussing whether or not the other party could win 81 consecutive rounds. "I think it's very possible. His strength should surpass Kuei-mo. He might really be able to break the record." However, there were also people who shook their heads. "Not necessarily. He only has a strong soul. If he can defend against the soul, he might not be as good as Kuei-mo. Yesterday the other party displayed such strength. Do you think that Immemorial City wasn't prepared? Today, a powerful Soul Saint artifact will definitely appear. The other party's soul attack will no longer have any effect." Indeed, they all knew how terrifying Immemorial City was. One had to know that no one had been able to win 81 consecutive rounds for hundreds of years. This was enough to prove everything. "All right, after a day of rest, I think you've rested enough. So let the battle begin." The blue-skinned old man walked up and said in a clear voice. After saying that, he retreated and stood at the side with a confident and calm smile on his face. Today's preparations were very sufficient. "Who's the first one?" The surrounding people were incomparably excited. A figure walked up. It was a woman with a scroll in her hand. She walked up and said, "I've seen your soul attack yesterday. Today I'll personally experience it. I'll personally snipe you." Saying that, she took out the scroll. Immediately, a crown flew out from the scroll and placed on the woman's head. Countless great Daos intertwined on the crown, protecting his soul. Moon Spirit Crown. World's Edge, it was indeed a saint artifact. Countless people screamed. It seemed that their guess was right. Immemorial City was about to counterattack. The other party's soul attack was about to lose its effect. When Kuei-mo saw this scene, he coldly snorted. Those people actually said that he was inferior to the other party. What a joke. Today he would let these people know who was the strong one. Without his soul attack, that brat was nothing. Hui Yuan, Dong Ling and the other two frowned again. Could the other party still win consecutively today? If the other party lost, how would they interact with the other party? When they thought of how they were forced to bow and bend their knees yesterday, and how they were even chased out of Dong Ling's embrace, the three of them gritted their teeth in hatred. The woman on the stage laughed. With this crown, I won't be afraid of your soul attack. Little brother, today's competition is over. A red whip appeared in her hand and she swung it forward. Under the whip it was like a red lightning bolt. It directly struck the void, creating a bottomless ravine. Not good, that person is in danger. Countless people screamed. Chapter 41:11. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Did he find a saint weapon for soul defense? Sure enough, the other party went to find a way to defeat him yesterday. But so what? Lin Xian wasn't afraid. He didn't use any soul attack. Instead, he raised his finger and pointed forward. Boom! A sword chi flew out from his fingertip. It instantly cut the whip in half. Not only that, the red-robed woman was also sent flying while vomiting blood. She was seriously injured with just one slash. The surrounding people were stunned. It wasn't a soul attack. Even the blue-skinned old man was stunned. What happened? Isn't the other party a soul expert? Then his other divine abilities should be very weak. How did he win with just one slash? How is this possible? The red-robed woman fell to the ground with blood on the corner of her mouth. Her face was extremely pale. She couldn't even stand up because of that slash. She was very scared now. Fortunately, the other party didn't kill her. Otherwise, she would have been dead by now. Damn it, I was careless. The blue-skinned old man frowned. It must be because of my carelessness that the other party won. He said, you guys should be careful. Looks like this kid doesn't only know soul attacks. Don't worry, elder, we know. Another person walked out. Can his sword chi be stronger than my meteor hammer? It was a gorilla. He held a pair of black hammers and walked forward. Every step he took shook the heaven and earth. His cultivation had reached the middle stage of minor saint. He waved his hammers as soon as he came forward. The hammers were like two stars as they smashed down. At the same time he had a crown on his head. Obviously these people were invited by Immemorial City. Hence they could continue to use soul defense weapons. But it was useless. Lin Xian didn't plan to use soul attacks anymore. He was going to use his sword skill next. He waved his arm and a sword chi pressed down like a mountain. The two meteor hammers were sent flying. A sword mark appeared on the gorilla's body, almost cutting him in half. I admit defeat. The gorilla was very decisive and admitted defeat instantly. The surrounding people were stunned. Another one lost. The blue-skinned old man's face turned ugly. How could the other party's sword be so strong? However, this was just the beginning. The third, the fourth, and the fifth one. In the following battles, Lin Xian split the other party with a single slash. Soon those people lost. Huiyuan and the others were terrified once again. Their displeasure disappeared once again. What kind of joke was this? Not only was this person's soul powerful, his sword was also incomparably terrifying. Could it be that he was also a terrifying sword saint? It was the 69th person. The last time, Kuei-Mo had failed at the 69th attempt. He wondered if the other party would be able to pass this time. I think we should be able to pass. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. Brat, you definitely won't be able to pass. A figure let out a long howl and arrived at the arena. What? It's him. The surrounding people screamed because they discovered that the 69 snipers were actually Kuei-Mo. He was actually invited by the people of Immemorial City? Indeed, Kuei-Mo had also accepted the invitation. Firstly, the price offered by the other party was too generous, which made him tempted. He didn't want to be outdone by his opponent. Yesterday he was defeated in the 69th match, so his opponent had to stop at the 69th match today. You finally can't take it anymore? Lin Xian looked at the other party. I thought you would make a move earlier. You think too highly of yourself. You think you can end me? What a joke. Lin Xian shook his head. You're not my opponent at all. Brat, don't be too arrogant. I'll let you know my true strength. Kuei-Mo had already received it. He wore the crown on his head to defend his soul. As for his opponent's sword, he was confident that he could block it. His body was like a whirlwind, instantly arriving in front of his opponent. The law of wind on his body was extremely terrifying. As he chopped down with his palm, it was the two wind blades could tear everything apart. Even a late-stage small saint wouldn't be able to block this attack. Everyone screamed. As expected of Kuei-Mo, his strength was indeed strong. Indeed, Kuei Mo's performance had far surpassed the previous dozens of people. This battle might really be able to turn the situation around. However, just as his voice fell, they were stunned. Lin Xian's hand shook and a sword chi appeared, blocking the wind blades. Then, an extremely terrifying flame erupted from the sword. The sword slashed across the sky, and endless flames surged. It was as if a fire phoenix was pressing down. With a bang, the law of wind was ignited. Kuei Mo's pupils shrank. He didn't dare to fight back. He dodged quickly. In the end, he dodged this attack. However, his hair was already charred black and his body was also burned. Damn it. He was so angry that his body trembled. With just one move, he was in such a sorry state. He couldn't bear it. Damn it. Storm of the Nine Heavens. He waved his hands and the law of wind spread out, forming two huge dragons that roared between heaven and earth. This was a fatal blow. However, Lin Xian was incomparably calm. After he cultivated the 10,000 swords returned to origin, his strength was extremely powerful. Therefore, his sword was very empty and directly sent his opponent flying. Kuei Mo vomited blood and flew backwards. Half of his body was badly mutilated. Impossible. Damn it. I don't believe it. He screamed crazily. How could he be defeated so easily? He only lasted for 2 moves and he couldn't block it anymore. Damn it. The surrounding people were also stunned. The person in front of them was absolutely terrifying. Soon, Lin Xian won 70 consecutive rounds like a hot knife through butter. In the last 79 rounds, there were only 2 rounds left before he broke the record. Countless people were excited. They wanted to know how Immemorial City would deal with it. The Immemorial City Lord's expression was extremely ugly. The aura from his body spread out, causing the surrounding atmosphere to be extremely tense. That blue-skinned old man was also facing a great enemy. To be honest, he had messed up this time. He didn't know how the City Lord would punish him. He had to make good use of the last 2 slots. After thinking about it, he gritted his teeth and said, "Young master, please make your move," he said to a palace in the distance. What? Is it my turn now? Those people in front are really useless. They couldn't even block a human. He had already won 79 consecutive rounds? However, his good luck ended here. An arrogant voice resounded between heaven and earth. When the surrounding people heard this, their scalps went numb. Good luck? What a joke. Now they had acknowledged Lin Xian's strength. This wasn't something that could be explained by good luck. The opponent was really strong. Who would dare to say such words? Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. He could feel that the aura was that of a late-stage small saint. It seemed like it should be an expert. A green figure walked out. He had a tail and green scales on his body. The moment he appeared, the surrounding people's blood froze. Damn it. What is this feeling? The faces of the people in Immemorial City changed. This was the suppression of bloodline. It was obvious that this person's bloodline was very high. What? It's him? The surrounding people raised their heads. When they saw the figure, they were all stunned. Chapter 41:12. Bai Qianshan's face turned pale when she saw this person. She even took a few steps back. Because this person was her nightmare. The young master of the Green Dragon tribe was extremely powerful. He was the son of a sacred sovereign. The Green Dragon small saint was here as well. Countless screams were heard. Everyone was stunned. It had been 300 years since someone managed to obtain an 81 win streak. However, the Green Dragon small saint did it 300 years ago. No one had managed to do it after him. Who would have thought that the person who succeeded that year would be here today? The Green Dragon small saint was very powerful. He managed to obtain an 81 win streak 300 years ago. How terrifying would he be after 300 years? Perhaps not many people below the sacred sovereign realm could be his opponent now? The Green Dragon tribe? Lin Xian frowned slightly. He had killed many people from the Green Dragon tribe before. He did not expect to meet one again. He turned his head and looked at Bai Qianshan. He saw that she was really frightened. She even lowered her head. Forget it. I'll be a good person until the end. I'll kill this Green Dragon small saint. Kid, your luck has come to an end. The Green Dragon small saint strode towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Get down here. Who allowed you to stand on my head? All geniuses had their pride. How could Lin Xian not be angry when the other party was so arrogant? You dare to scold me? Very well. You've angered me. I'll torture you to death later. The Green Dragon small saint's eyes were filled with ferocity. He waved his tail and slashed down like a black heavenly blade. The void below was shattered rapidly. was too fast. He arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Lin Xian did not dodge. Instead, he stretched out his palm and grabbed forward. It can't be. He did not use any illusion or sword chi. Is he going to use his physique? Is this guy's physique very strong? How is that possible? The physique of a group of soul experts would not be strong. They might even be weak unless he wore some powerful armor. Asterisk boom. Asterisk in a blink of an eye, Lin Xian grabbed the green tail. Sparks flew everywhere. Lin Xian waved his tail forcefully. Get down here. He wanted to drag the green flood dragon Little Saint down. The green flood dragon Little Saint trembled and almost fell from the sky. However, he was, after all, a late minor saint expert. In addition, he had already made a name for himself 300 years ago. Therefore, he was able to recover in an instant. With a furious roar, the phantom of a huge green flood dragon appeared on its body. He charged towards the sky. However, he underestimated Lin Xian's strength. Lin Xian had a divine body. When he attacked with his full strength, he was truly powerful. One of them went up while the other went down. The opposing forces caused the tail to break in an instant. Blood splattered and scales fell to the ground. That tail, just pull it out. Green flood dragon Little Saint screamed crazily. His eyes turned red instantly. This pain made him feel great humiliation. This was a slap to the face. His tail was actually broken by the other party. This was unforgivable. The surrounding people went crazy. What did they see? That was the Green Jiao Little Sage, the winner of 300 years ago. But now he suffered a huge loss as soon as they met. Brat, I will never forgive you. The green flood dragon Little Saint dove down from the sky. With a roar, his body suddenly enlarged as he transformed into his true form. It seemed like he was really angry. He wanted to use his fastest speed to kill the other party. The broken tail grew out once again. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws. The surrounding void continued to shatter. Lin Xian's body was filled with laws and endless sword chi. At the same time, a dragon roar resounded from his body, resounding through the 9 heavens. At this moment, the surrounding supreme ancient race were stunned. They almost knelt on the ground. The green flood dragon Little Saint who was in the heavenly palace was the same. His scalp went numb and his body began to tremble. It can't be. Isn't the green flood dragon Little Saint a flood dragon? Is he going to transform into a dragon? Then how strong was he? The surrounding people were terrified. They thought that the dragon roar was released by the green flood dragon Little Saint. However, the green flood dragon Little Saint's face was extremely ugly. He could clearly sense that the dragon roar was released by the other party. Damn it. What's the relationship between the other party and the dragons? Just as he was in a daze, Lin Xian slashed his sword over. Instantly, a sword wound appeared on his body. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. His huge body tumbled in the air. It shattered the endless void. Boom, boom, boom. His body shrunk once again. Because he was too big of a target, he couldn't dodge the sword chi. Initially, he wanted to use his original body to block the sword chi. But now it seemed like he couldn't block it. He might as well shrink and be more agile. Both of them engaged in close combat. In the blink of an eye, the battle was over. After another earth-shattering collision, the two of them separated. Lin Xian's sword chi was torrential. On the other side, the green flood dragon Little Saint was covered in blood. There were more than 60 wounds on his body. In some places, his bones could even be seen. One could say that he was in a miserable state. The surrounding people were going crazy. Was the green flood dragon Little Saint going to lose? Bai Qian raised her head and widened her eyes. She knew that Lin Xian was strong, but she didn't think that he could defeat the green flood dragon Little Saint. But now it seemed like Lin Xian was stronger than the green flood dragon Little Saint. This gave her a glimpse of hope. On the other side, the blue-skinned old man's face turned ugly. Damn it. Even the green flood dragon Little Saint couldn't defeat him? Then there was no hope for their side. One should know that they wanted the green flood dragon Little Saint to fight last. But the opponent was too strong. Therefore they wanted to finish him off in the 80th round. If the green flood dragon Little Saint was defeated, the last person wouldn't be able to stop him. After 300 years, someone was going to break the record of consecutive victories again? The immemorial city lord's face turned gloomy. His eyes were filled with endless stars. No one knew what he was thinking. Kid, you're the first one to injure me to this extent in the past 300 years. But now that you've angered me, I'll make sure you die without a burial place. The green flood dragon Little Saint soared into the sky once again. His aura continued to spread. All sorts of laws and bloodline intertwined. An even more terrifying energy was emitted. Could it be that he still has a trump card? Countless people became nervous once again. As his voice faded away, the green flood dragon little saint's palms started to form seals. At the next moment he slapped down with both of his palms. The green flood dragon transformation was a world-destroying strike. Asterisk boom. Asterisk the flood dragon phantom rushed down and turned into a giant dragon in the sky. It was a real dragon phantom. It was extremely terrifying. This was a fatal blow. There was still a difference between a flood dragon and a real dragon. Now, the green flood dragon little saint was going to break through this obstacle. If so, his future would be limitless. Great. The blue-skinned old man heaved a sigh of relief. No one below the saint realm could withstand this attack. The immemorial city lord's lips curled up into a smile. Lin Xian also took a deep breath when he sensed the terrifying aura. It was indeed a threat to him. He had to admit that the opponent was able to obtain consecutive victories 300 years ago. He did have some tricks up his sleeves. It was worth it for him to go all out. His nerves turned cold. At the next moment he activated the myriad returning sword. Streaks of sword chi encircled him one after another. He was like a peerless sword god. He raised both of his hands up high. Kill. Thousands of sword chi soared into the sky. Chapter 41:13. Boom, 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 boom. The earth-shattering sound was heard as the dazzling light engulfed everything. Everyone was excited as they did not know what the final result would be. It must be the Green Jiao Small Saint. Not necessarily. I feel that the sword technique of that person is extremely terrifying. The immemorial city lord frowned. Could this sword chi be from the myriad sword pavilion? His heart sank. Suddenly the sword chi became even stronger. The sword split the 9 heavens. The Jiao Small Phantom disappeared and a figure was sent flying. That person's body was split into 2. Along with it there were also miserable cries. The Green Jiao Small Saint was defeated. He fell to the ground and screamed miserably. The surrounding people were terrified. The person who lost was actually the Green Jiao Small Saint. Moreover, he was severely injured. It was unbelievable. What kind of sword technique was this? Bai Qianqian opened her eyes wide in disbelief. Huiyuan and the others were terrified. They swore that they would never dare to have any thoughts of revenge. On the other side, Kuei Mo's scalp went numb when he saw this scene. He was not convinced before, but now he was completely convinced. The blue-skinned old man's face turned gloomy. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. However, the immemorial city lord stood up and said in a deep voice, "Stop now. Stop." The blue-skinned old man was completely stunned. He was very clear about the city lord's character. Logically speaking, the city lord should send someone even more terrifying. He might even send the blue-skinned old man to interrupt the battle. However, he did not expect the city lord to stop the battle. What exactly was it that made the primordial city lord so fearful? The city lord seemed to have seen through the blue-skinned old man's thoughts. The immemorial city lord said that the myriad sword sect that he used at the end was the ultimate technique of the myriad sword pavilion. Was he from the myriad sword pavilion? No wonder he was so powerful. The blue-skinned old man took in a cold breath. At the same time he knew why the immemorial city lord stopped the battle. The myriad sword pavilion was a terrifying saint city. Moreover, once these sword saints were exposed they would come in groups. No one was willing to provoke this group of sword Dao madmen. They might as well do the myriad sword pavilion a favor. On the stage Lin Xian kept his sword chi. He said faintly, "You're not my opponent. Now it's already the 80th round. There's only 1 round left. Come on, I'm going to break this record." The crowd went crazy. Who would be the last person to go up? He should be even stronger than the green flood dragon little saint. Everyone guessed. However, at this moment a figure walked out. He was wearing a crown and a dragon robe. His aura was incomparable. Sensing this aura, everyone raised their heads and screamed. Archaic City Lord. They had never thought that the City Lord would actually come personally. There were also some people who knew that the primeval City Lord had always been there, but he had hidden his identity. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. He wondered what kind of experts the primordial City Lord would send to deal with him. The primordial City Lord glanced downwards, the stars in his eyes flickering. He said that he didn't expect such a sword Dao genius to appear 300 years later. There's no need for you to participate in the 81st battle. Currently, none of us are stronger than the green flood dragon little saint. Therefore you won the 81st round without a fight. They won without a fight. The surrounding people screamed. This was completely different from what they had imagined. The other party had really broken the record of the past 300 years. Lin Xian's lips curled up into a smile. He clasped his fists and thanked the city lord. All right, men, send the green flood dragon little saint away for treatment. Soon, the guards in the city escorted the green flood dragon little saint away. At this moment, the green flood dragon little saint's shattered body had already recovered. However, his expression was extremely ugly. He didn't walk too far away. Instead, he stood at the side with a gloomy expression. Suddenly he saw a figure. It was Bai Qianqian. Why was she here? Moreover, she seemed to know the swordsman in front of him. Could it be that she was the one who killed his men? Thinking of this scene, the green flood dragon little saint's eyes instantly turned red. He crushed the jade pendant on his waist. All right, young man, you've completed your 81 match winning streak. Now tell me what you wish for. My wish is very simple. I wish to borrow the super teleportation array of Primordial City and perform a teleportation. Teleportation? He didn't want any heavenly treasures or beauties. The surrounding people were in an uproar. The Primordial City Lord was also stunned. The place you teleported to should be very far away. Where do you want to go? Lin Xian didn't hide anything. He said, Double Rain Planet. I want to go there immediately. I hope Senior City Lord can fulfill my wish. The news of Double Rain Planet had already spread. Countless people wanted to go there. Therefore, when he said this now, it wouldn't attract the attention of others. Sure enough, after the surrounding people heard this, they also understood. It turned out that he wanted to go to Double Rain Planet. I heard that the Double Rain Planet has recently produced an incredible weapon. That's right. He should want to try his luck. I guess he should be meeting up with his sect. Sounds of discussion could be heard. The Primordial City Lord also said, All right, I can open the teleportation array for you now. Men, prepare the teleportation array. The blue-skinned old man led his men to prepare. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Qianqian ran up to him. Brother Wu Jian, you are really awesome. Qianqian, I am going to Double Rain Planet. Let's part here. Lin Xian smiled. Bai Qianqian's eyes turned red. She was a little reluctant. Brother Wu Jian, are you really going to leave? Why don't you take me with you? Lin Xian said, No. That place is now a battlefield. It is very dangerous. I might not be able to protect myself if I go there, let alone take you with me. Hearing this, Bai Qianqian's face darkened. At this time, countless large cracks were torn open in the sky. Arrays flickered. Then many figures walked out. Their auras were extremely terrifying. What a terrifying aura. What a terrifying cultivation base. Song Tianya. It was the people of the Green Dragon clan. Could it be that they were here for revenge? These people were terrified. Even the Primordial City Lord frowned. Are they here? The Green Dragon's small saint raised the corner of his mouth into a smile. He walked out and stared at Bai Qianqian. You little bitch, you actually dared to run away and kill the guards of my Green Dragon clan. Let's see where you can run to today. What, Bai Qianqian? Could it be that person from White Crane Team 1? Wasn't she already married to the Green Dragon small saint? Why is she so close to that swordsman? Haven't you heard? The wedding procession had been wiped out on the way. Those small saints were all dead. It was said that they were killed by a biting cold sword chi. Wait, could it be related to that swordsman? They found out something shocking. The Green Dragon small saint stared at Lin Xian. You were the one who did it before, right? Very well. Do it. You dare to kill the people of my Green Dragon clan. Wash your neck clean and wait for me to torture you to death. Not good, Brother Wu Jian, leave quickly. Bai Qianqian's face was pale. She was very anxious. Lin Xian also frowned. It seemed like there was going to be another big battle. Chapter 41:14. The sudden appearance of the Green Flood Dragon clan had caught everyone off guard. They knew that Lin Xian was dead meat. Following the order of the Green Flood Dragon Little Saint, the experts of the Green Flood Dragon clan rushed over. In an instant, the divine ability of these people changed the entire heaven and earth, causing the surrounding people to tremble in fear. Lin Xian stood on the stage. Looking at the countless terrifying divine abilities, his face was extremely cold. His palms were constantly forming hand seals. The myriad ancestral swords had been unleashed to the extreme. Sword chi swept across all directions, sweeping away everything in its path. Suddenly, an intense collision sound could be heard. The heaven and earth were shattered. Everything could no longer be seen. The terrifying storm swept across all directions. Not good. Retreat quickly. The surrounding people retreated frantically. If they were hit by this kind of energy, Even a late minor saint wouldn't be able to survive. There was no one left in the surroundings. How dare you fight against us? You're really courting death. The experts of the Green Flood Dragon clan harumphed coldly. No matter how strong the opponent was, he was only one person. With so many of them attacking together, how could they not kill him? This was what everyone was thinking. The corner of the Green Flood Dragon little saint's mouth curled up into a cold smile. However, in the next moment his body turned cold. He almost died because a hand was grabbing his neck. A figure appeared behind him. One hand was grabbing his neck while the other hand was emitting sword chi, pressing against his head. As long as he was slightly moved, his astral soul would be destroyed. Arg! The Green Flood Dragon little saint roared furiously. The energy in his body surged and a flood dragon phantom rushed out. However, at this moment, the 5 elemental law and the yin-yang picture rushed out and shrouded him, sealing him completely. The one who made the move was Lin Xian. The sword chi he used to attack was just an illusion. His true killing move was the void elemental law. Taking advantage of the chaotic heaven and earth energy, he activated the void escape art and appeared behind the Green Flood Dragon little saint in an instant. He knew that the Green Flood Dragon little saint had called many experts over this time. It would be troublesome for him to continue fighting. He didn't want to waste time. After threatening the Green Flood Dragon little saint, he would be able to hold the entire Green Flood Dragon clan hostage. At that time he would take the super teleportation formation and leave this place. Would the Green Flood Dragon little saint bite him? The shriek of Green Jiao small saint attracted the attention of everyone. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. Oh my god, what's going on? The Green Dragon little saint was being held hostage? How is this possible? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Discussions broke out one after another. The pupils of the Green Dragon little saint in the sky shrunk. Damn it, it's that kid. He was not dead. They discovered that not only was Lin Xian not dead, but he had also kidnapped their young master. Kid, hurry up and let go of our young master. That's right, let go of our young master and kneel on the ground obediently. We'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, if we catch you, even death won't be easy. These people rushed down and firmly surrounded Lin Xian. Lin Xian coldly laughed. If you guys dare to make a move, I will destroy your astral soul. Damn it, how dare you? One of the old men shouted angrily. At the same time, he secretly gave a look to the other 2 old men. The 2 old men quietly formed seals. The ground shattered. 2 Jiao dragon phantoms rushed out from the ground and attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian coldly shouted. The 9 young divine bodies shone brightly. The myriad sword convergence swept across everything and shattered the 2 Jiao dragon phantoms. At the same time, it suppressed a part of the world. He laughed coldly and said, "Do you think my words are just passing wind?" Saying this, he waved the sword in his hand. With a poochie sound, one of the Green Dragon little saint's arms was chopped off. The Green Dragon little saint let out a blood-curdling scream. Blood splattered everywhere. This was not the end. His second arm and legs were chopped off as well. All 4 of his limbs were broken. The crazy and miserable scream made one's scalp go numb. Damn it, how dare you? Now stop it. The people of the Green Dragon clan screamed crazily. They were scared out of their wits. They did not expect that their sneak attack would not succeed. Instead, it angered the other party. They said, "Stop it, we won't touch you. Hurry up, don't hurt our young master anymore." They were really scared. As these people spoke, they quickly retreated. Lin Xian coldly snorted. "Very good, don't worry. As long as you don't make a move, I won't kill him." Saying this, he looked at the Primordial City Lord. "Senior, our agreement still counts, right?" The Primordial City Lord nodded. "I don't care about the grudge between you and the Green Dragon clan. Your condition is to use the teleportation array. I agree to this." "Very good." Lin Xian looked into the distance again. The blue-skinned old man flew over. He said, "I'm ready. Lead the way." They flew in the direction of the super teleportation array. Of course, during this process he brought Bai Chanshan with him because he was afraid that the other party would kidnap Bai Chanshan. Bai Chanshan's face was pale as she followed closely. Very soon, they arrived at the teleportation array. Lin Xian said, "Let's go." The 3 of them walked up. "Senior, open the array," Lin Xian said. Those Green Dragon clan saints shouted angrily. "You've already boarded the array. Why aren't you letting go of our young master? Brat, do you want to die?" These people roared. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "Don't worry, I'll let him go when it's time to teleport." The array beneath his feet was activated. The light became brighter and brighter. A huge spatial gate quickly appeared in the sky. This kind of long-distance teleportation required a period of time before it could be completed. Seeing that the array was about to be completely activated and completed, however, at this moment the void shattered. A terrifying palm stretched out. As soon as this aura appeared, the surrounding people all vomited blood and were sent flying. The Green Dragon clan people were overjoyed. The Elder was here. This was not an ordinary saint, but a saint sovereign. Although he had not arrived in Immemorial City yet, he was still a saint. Although the saint hadn't come to Primordial City yet, he had already launched a shocking attack across the endless void. It would be too easy for a holy venerate to kill or save someone if they wanted to. Was the saint here? Everyone thought that Lin Xian could escape. However, the appearance of the Green Dragon clan's saint made things complicated again. Perhaps that brat would be killed. Bai Qianqian's heart was in her throat. Was she going to die? However, when she thought of dying by Lin Xian's side, she was satisfied. Boom. The sound of an earthquake rang out. The palm completely landed. However, soon there was a clang. The palm seemed to be blocked by something. Everyone saw a pagoda appear. However, it disappeared in an instant. Because the pagoda had been teleported away. At the last moment, a voice floated over. Since the Green Dragon clan went back on their words, don't blame me for being ruthless. But the spatial power disappeared. Everything was gone. Did he leave? That brat could actually survive under the attack of a saint? The surrounding people seemed to have gone crazy. In the next moment, an old man's figure appeared. It was a saint from the Green Dragon clan. The moment he appeared, he quickly attacked the void. However, it was useless. It was already too late. He roared in anger. Who knew that brat? The surrounding people were so frightened that they frantically retreated. Only Hui Yuan and the other two were left. The three of you know him? Hui Yuan, Chuan Shui, and Dongling knelt on the ground. We don't know him. Nonsense. We clearly saw you together. There were people around who could testify. The Green Dragon clan's saint captured the three of them and searched their souls. The three of them struggled, trying to resist. However, they were as insignificant as ants in front of the saint. They couldn't resist at all. Soon, the three of them's mouths twitched. They foamed at the mouth and lost consciousness. The Green Dragon clan's saint's face was cold. He waved his hand and blew up the three of them. Trash. Originally, he wanted to search their souls to find some useful information. However, the three of them didn't know who the other party was. I updated late these 2 days. I'll make up for it tomorrow. Chapter 41:15. In the endless darkness of the universe, a ray of light flashed. Immediately after, a pagoda appeared and floated between heaven and earth. Soon, the pagoda stabilized and 3 figures walked out from it. It was Lin Xian and the other 2. Bai Qianqian's face was pale. She looked around with a blank face. Was she saved? That was a sage's attack. Impossible. At this moment, the Green Dragon's small saint screamed. How could the other party block the attack of a sage? It was too inconceivable. Lin Xian snorted. Nothing is impossible. Since the Green Dragon tribe went back on their words, don't blame me for being impolite. Speaking until here, Lin Xian activated the heavenly secret prodigy and pulled the other party into the spring and autumn lock. Let the other party experience 10,000 years of torture and then die. 10,000 years inside was only a second outside. Soon, the Green Dragon's small saint's neck tilted and the aura on his body disappeared. His soul was completely obliterated. Is he dead? Bai Qianqian was stunned. The nightmare in her heart had finally vanished. Brother Wu Jian, thank you so much. Bai Qianqian was very grateful. Lin Xian said, forget it. What do you plan to do next? Go back or? I want to follow Brother Wu Jian. Before Lin Xian could finish, Bai Qianqian quickly said her thoughts. Lin Xian sighed. Well, it seemed like this was the only way now. After confirming the direction, he flew towards Double Rain Planet. With his current distance, he could reach Double Rain Planet in 3 days. At this moment, Double Rain Planet was in chaos. The sky was shattered and laws were spreading from time to time. The earth was cracked and the people here were in a killing frenzy. Moreover, it wasn't just 1 or 2 people fighting. There were many forces and sects fighting. There were thousands of people fighting in each battle. When they attacked together, the heaven and earth trembled. On Double Rain Planet, there were originally countless cities. Now they were in ruins and blood was everywhere. Their target was naturally the Sage King's weapon. However, until now they hadn't found where the weapon was. When Lin Xian arrived and saw the flames of war all around him, his face turned completely cold. Silently sensing, Lin Xian's pupils suddenly shrank. That was because he sensed an extremely terrifying demonic aura, as if it was going to tear the world apart. It was no wonder that these people would attack in such a frenzy. This demonic aura was much stronger than what he had seen before. Was this the Saint King's weapon? It felt very similar to the Great Spear of Destruction. It seemed that it really was the Great Spear of Destruction. Something had changed. He turned into a streak of light. He rushed forward quickly. He had to figure out what had happened. However, when he arrived at the center of the world, he found that there were actually quite a few people around. It seemed that these people had found the general direction. However, he didn't have the heart of the realm, so he couldn't accurately aim at the location. However, this area was completely sealed off by the enemy, so Lin Xian's arrival directly alarmed those people. Who are you? The saint at the front raised his eyebrows and asked coldly. It was as if they would attack at the slightest disagreement. Bai Qianqian had been placed in the black earth by Lin Xian, so he was alone and wearing a mask. Seeing these people from the sacred city eyeing him covetously, he snorted coldly and released the aura on his body. Waves of terrifying sword intent intertwined between heaven and earth. How terrifying. This was a sword saint. These people were surprised. Are you from the 10,000 Sword sect? Probably only the 10,000 Sword sect had such a terrifying sword aura. However, there were also people from the Hopeful Sword Pavilion among them. A few sword saints walked out and asked, "Who are you? Why haven't I seen you before? What's going on? Could it be that this kid isn't from the 10,000 Sword sect?" The surrounding people were puzzled. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "You dare to question me?" He had a hint of arrogance and unruliness. Then he activated the 10,000 Sword sect, and the aura on his body became incomparable, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. This was the 10,000 Sword sect, the ultimate technique of the 10,000 Sword sect. Someone screamed. The pupils of the 10,000 Sword sect's people constricted. Who was this person? If the other party knew the 10,000 Sword sect, it meant that he was definitely from the 10,000 Sword sect. However, they had never seen or heard of a masked sword saint. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "Your status is too low. How could you know who I am? Don't you know the background of the 10,000 Sword sect? The elders of the 10,000 Sword sect all have secret disciples. I think you should know this." After the sword saints of the 10,000 Sword sect heard this, their expressions changed. Indeed, other than these genius powerhouses on the surface, those terrifying experts had also secretly cultivated some disciples. They usually hid their strength and only showed it at critical moments. This was an extremely terrifying force. Could it be that the person in front of them was one of the secretly cultivated experts? Thinking of this possibility, they all nodded. The other party was unfamiliar and knew the 10,000 Sword sect. This was the only explanation. Of course, there was a middle-aged man who was not at ease. He wanted to investigate, so he took out an array and wanted to ask the holy city. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. Soon he stood there calmly. If it was somewhere else, he might really be exposed. But this was the Double Rain planet. He was the master of this world. Although his current master was still very weak, it was really too easy for him to carry out some interference. Immediately, he controlled the power of the entire world to interfere. Sure enough, the middle-aged sword saint's expression became a little serious. The array could not transmit messages. What was going on? The other people's expressions also changed. They checked and found that in this world their souls seemed to be suppressed. Moreover, the receiving and sending of messages was not as smooth as before. It must be because we fought. Don't you see how damaged this world has been? Someone snorted coldly. The others also nodded. Indeed, after continuous battles, this world was already full of wounds. What, are you still suspecting me now? Lin Xian walked over, bringing with him a biting cold aura. They did not dare. The sword saints of the 10,000 Sword sect shook their heads. They could now feel the other party's aura. It was very sharp and had surpassed them. Moreover, the other party's voice was also very young. He might be a top expert secretly cultivated. They did not dare to offend him. So he asked, "How should I address you, senior brother?" "Wu Jian." Lin Xian said this title again. Anyway, these people did not know him. Moreover, he seemed to have fooled them. Thus, he immediately revealed this title to her. "So it's senior brother Wu Jian. This way, please." Chapter 41:16. How is it? Lin Xian asked. "Senior brother, we've already locked onto the general direction. Next we'll investigate them one by one. However, it's not just our Myriad Swords Pavilion. Many other major powers have come. Moreover, there are some terrifying experts. It's said that the sage will appear in the end. That's the most troublesome thing. After listening, Lin Xian had a rough understanding of the situation. Fortunately, little 8 trigrams and Great Destruction Spear hadn't been discovered yet. It seemed like he wasn't too late. However, it seemed that the sage would come soon. Therefore, Lin Xian knew that he couldn't wait any longer. He said, "We'll rest today and recover our strength to the peak. Tomorrow we'll take action. We'll kill these people first." These Myriad Swords Pavilion Sword Saints were very excited. With such a hidden expert helping them, they could definitely sweep through everything. When night fell, all the major powers set up camp and began to rest. The Myriad Swords Pavilion side was exceptionally quiet. They were all madly cultivating to recover their strength. When the night passed and the sky brightened, Lin Xian opened his eyes. Without another word, he transformed into a beam of sword light and charged forward. He was rushing toward the Devil Palace's people. The Devil Palace's strength in the dual rain planet was very powerful. After all, they were the ones who conquered this world. However, they hadn't found the world core. Therefore, they were unwilling to give up. They had a lot of people in the dual rain planet. At this moment, Lin Xian wanted to get rid of this scourge first. As he moved, the Myriad Swords Pavilion Sword Saints beside him also attacked crazily. They were like streams of light, moving freely between heaven and earth. Buff, buff, buff. In an instant, the heads of those Devil Palace's saints were split open. Their bodies were chopped into pieces. All kinds of miserable shrieks didn't even have time to sound out before their corpses fell down. In the blink of an eye, dozens of Devil Palace's saints were killed. This scene immediately alarmed the Devil Palace's people. Who dares to sneak attack us? A Devil Palace's minor saint roared crazily. He opened his hands and a devil phantom soared into the sky. Buzz. Endless devil law condensed, forming a black palm that descended from the sky. Heaven and earth shattered, ruthlessly smashing toward those sword saints. The sword saints spewed out endless laws of the sword, forming one sword chi after another. When the two collided, the sound was earth-shattering. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The people from the other major sects also opened their eyes. Someone made a move. Retreat quickly. They frantically retreated. Were the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion going to attack the Demon Palace? Should we make a move? Don't be in a hurry. Let's just watch and reap the spoils later. Those people came to the distant Sanfen with cold smiles on their faces. They didn't make a move. The Fiend Palace lost more than 30 saints in an instant. This made their hearts bleed. The 3 late minor saint experts who led the group gnashed their teeth in anger. Kill. Roaring, the 3 of them charged out. One of the middle-aged men condensed a demonic phantom that blotted out the sky. The other old man transformed into the body of an evil demon. His body became incomparably tall, like a towering mountain. His black pupils carried an extremely frightening and cold aura. When he stomped down, it was as if 100,000 mountains were descending. The last person was a woman who used the Devil's Whip. 3 advanced stage experts, in addition to the other sages, attacked together. Their momentum was truly terrifying. Their numbers were greater than theirs. The sword saints of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion had ugly expressions on their faces. At this moment, Lin Xian let out a long roar. I'll block 2 of them. You guys deal with the rest. After saying that, he charged towards the middle-aged man and the old man. It can't be, right? He wants to fight 2 at once? The sages on the distant mountain sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this scene. This guy is too arrogant. What is his cultivation base? Everyone looked over and was stunned. How is it possible for a minor saint expert to be an intermediate minor saint? An intermediate minor saint expert dares to challenge 2 late minor saint experts? What kind of joke is this? Even if you're a secret genius, it's impossible for you to be so terrifying. To be honest, the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were also shocked and worried. Buzz. Lin Xian waved his arm. The law of sword permeated the air. Terrifying sword chi soared into the sky one after another. He blocked the divine ability of the 2. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and attack. Lin Xian roared. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion regained their senses and sucked in a breath of cold air. Oh my god, he really did it? This is too unbelievable. Hurry up and attack. These people were incomparably excited. Without the 2 late minor saints, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. Next, these sword saints began to show their might. The faces of the 2 late minor saints turned incomparably ugly. A puny intermediate saint dared to fight against them. He must be courting death. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with coldness. The old devil was like a devil god. Asterisk boom. Asterisk he waved his black fist, blowing it down from the sky. Endless law runes filled the air, causing the chi and blood of the people in the distance to boil. Even though they were so far away, they were still affected. One could imagine how terrifying it would be if they were hit head-on. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with incomparable coldness. He was pretending to be a member of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, so he couldn't use some divine ability. But fortunately, his 10,000 swords return to origin had reached a certain level. The law of sword was terrifyingly powerful, and he was a terrifying swordsman himself. Therefore, just using the Sword Dao divine ability was enough to contend against everything. Asterisk buzz. Asterisk the sword slashed out, colliding with the opponent's fist. Divine light filled the air as if the sun had exploded. Everyone's eyes were bleeding from the light. They quickly closed their eyes. They exclaimed crazily. The surrounding people of the Devil Palace were also affected by the impact. They kept retreating while coughing out blood. The old man retracted his arm, his face became incomparably solemn. Although the opponent's cultivation base was lower than his, the aura of the sword actually made his hair stand on end. Let me help you. Just at this moment, the middle-aged man made his move. His black hair draped over his shoulders, and his chi and blood were boiling. There was a huge black phantom behind him as if a devil had descended. Asterisk buzz. Asterisk the devil opened his mouth, took out a devil's spear and thrust it down from the sky. In an instant the void shattered. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The scene was abnormally terrifying. The faces of the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion changed. They quickly dodged. Wasn't this demonic phantom too terrifying? How dare a mere devil from the heterodox Dao be so arrogant in front of me? Lin Xian laughed. He held sword energy in his hand and slashed in all directions. Every sword strike of his contained the power of the law of sword, and 10,000 swords returned to origin. It also contained the power of the great dragon sword soul. It could destroy everything and it was invincible. Therefore the attacks of the devil phantom were no threat at all. Sure enough, the black spear was split apart by the 3 sword strikes. The middle-aged man's face changed. Damn it, who is this person? Chapter 41:17. Could it be that an older generation expert of the Myriad Swords Pavilion had come? The others were also alarmed. If it was myriad swords, they wouldn't think much of it. But it was a person they had never seen before who was so powerful. Is that all you two have? If that's all you have, I'll send you to hell. Lin Xian's eyes flickered and an ice-cold voice was transmitted. Damn it! You dare to look down on us? When the 2 experts of the Demon Palace heard this, their expressions changed. Soon after, they took a deep breath and gloomy rays of light appeared in their eyes. I don't know where you came from, but since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. That middle-aged man tore off his left arm, and then respectfully handed it to the demonic phantom behind him. The demonic phantom lowered its head, opened its mouth and swallowed the severed arm and started eating it. Blood flowed down from the corner of its mouth. It looked extremely sinister and strange. On the other side, the old man also bit his finger, and drew 49 blood-colored runes on his mountain-like body. Those 49 blood-colored runes fused with his huge body. Immediately, boundless blood-colored radiance blossomed, and formed mysterious vein patterns one after another. Their auras increased at an astonishing speed. Sensing this scene, Lin Xian slightly furrowed his brows. He revolved his power, and the myriad swords returned to origin became even more terrifying. At this moment, his body seemed to have turned into tens of thousands of sword energies. They could tear apart everything. Boy, no matter where you come from, you recklessly challenged the 2 of us at the same time. Today you will surely die. The old man of the Demon Palace said in an ice-cold voice. The middle-aged man on the other side also had killing intent in his eyes. Even a dragon would have to coil around him. Kill. The 2 of them roared and quickly attacked. Terrifying demonic laws quickly spread out and rushed toward Lin Xian. They were like a tide and nothing could stop them. Not good. The complexions of the Myriad Swords Pavilion's people changed again. Today your Myriad Swords Pavilion will surely die. The people in the distance were also surprised and they shook their heads. The Demon Palace had many people and they had the advantage here. If other people wanted to contend against them, they would have to join hands. Or they would have to wait for even more powerful holy venerables to come. Otherwise, with your current state, you wouldn't be able to defeat the Demon Palace. That guy was called Wu Jian, right? He was too arrogant. Did he think that he could look down on everything just because he had cultivated with the Lord for a while? This was his first battle and perhaps the only battle in his life. In the eyes of these people, Lin Xian was dead meat. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He circulated all kinds of power to the extreme, and the sword chi became even more resplendent. Buzz buzz buzz. With him as the center, terrifying sword chi swept out in all directions. Anything that got close to him was annihilated. So powerful. He actually blocked it. Countless people cried out. Countless sword shadows appeared on Lin Xian's body. He stepped on the divine sword and flew quickly. It looked very slow, but his speed was extremely fast. And every time he flew, he dodged the most fatal attacks. Then he charged towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man snorted coldly. Go. The demon phantom behind him sent out demon chains that rattled between heaven and earth. The chains coiled around Lin Xian. At the same time, his other hand struck out with the demon scythe. A crescent moon-shaped black law descended from the sky. Boom boom boom. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Everything was destroyed. However, Lin Xian was not afraid. He used the 10,000 swords return to origin to the extreme, forming a sword world that enveloped the middle-aged man. Everyone could only see endless light. Soon the world disappeared. The demon phantom turned into green smoke and dissipated. The middle-aged man from the demon palace opened his eyes wide. His body was shattered and his soul was destroyed. You aren't? Before he could finish his words, he exploded. He died. His astral soul was destroyed. But before he died, he discovered a shocking secret. Relying on the demon phantom, he tore apart those sword techniques and arrived beside the middle-aged man. But when he attacked the middle-aged man's body, he discovered that there was a golden radiance on the middle-aged man's body. At that moment, he discovered that the middle-aged man was hiding something. The middle-aged man had a terrifying constitution. It was even possible that it was not a magical ability of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. That was why he wanted to warn the middle-aged man. However, his strength had already been destroyed. So he couldn't say anything in the end. A late minor saint expert died just like that. The people of the demon palace went crazy. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were shocked. They rushed over even more crazily. These sword saints were all experts. When they joined forces, the people of the demon palace suffered miserably. On the other side, 5 mid-minor saints joined forces to attack the middle-aged woman, making her unable to spare any attention. The 5 of them also used a kind of sword formation. Together with the 10,000 swords returned to origin, its power was truly terrifying. Lin Xian was left facing the mountain-like old man. The old man's face was gloomy and cold. He was gnashing his teeth. Damn it. Did he lose his companion so easily? Impossible. It must be his companion. He was too careless. This time he had to be 120% alert. Go to hell for me. His eyes were cold. He flicked a finger. The finger was like a light pillar that reached the sky. The black law on it rapidly spread out. Thunder rumbled between heaven and earth. The black bone finger fell from the sky. The whole heaven and earth trembled. The power made the scalps of the people in the distance numb. Brat, it's over. The old man's face turned pale. Obviously, he had used up all his strength to launch his ultimate attack. Asterisk Kong. Asterisk, the black finger exploded out completely. Even though it was huge in size, its speed was unbelievably fast. Those below the Saint Realm couldn't dodge it at all. Not good. Retreat quickly. The sword saints of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion didn't dare to do anything. They retreated frantically. Someone among them exclaimed, "Senior brother, retreat quickly. We can't resist it." No, I can't retreat in time. These people's faces were pale. Ultimate attack? Lin Xian's eyes bloomed with a cold light. The next moment, the sword on his body became even more terrifying. Since it's like this, let's end it. Kill. With a roar, endless sword chi gathered in his hand, forming a huge sword. He held it and slashed at the sky. It collided with the black bone finger. The sky exploded in an instant, and all the people on Double Rain Planet looked in this direction. What happened? Someone was fighting. The two forces were too terrifying. Could it be that a Saint Realm expert had come? Many people were startled. Some people shook their heads. That's not right. Although it's very terrifying, it hasn't broken through to the Saint Realm. It should be a peak expert below the Saint Realm. Seeing the sword chi, could it be the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's people? The other side should be the Demon Palace's people. Let's go and take a look. Those people soared into the sky one after another. As for the people present, they were completely stunned. They saw cracks suddenly appear on the black bone finger when the two forces collided. Furthermore, the cracks quickly spread. Then with a kacha sound, the finger exploded. As for the huge sword, it grew stronger and stronger. When it exploded, the sword light completely submerged the 30,000-meter tall body of the old man. Chapter 41:18. When the sword light disappeared, the old man's body was full of sword holes. They were so densely packed that it made one's scalp go numb. With a loud thud, his huge body fell to the ground, shattering the mountains, rivers, plains, and waterfalls below. "Oh, Elder!" The saints of the Devil Palace screamed crazily. Another late minor saint had died. This was too inconceivable. The middle-aged woman was terrified. Retreat quickly. She was alone now. She was no match for these people. The people of the Devil Palace quickly retreated. "Senior brother, do you want to chase after me?" The sword saints of the Myriad Sword Pavilion rushed over with stars in their eyes. They were really too excited. His strength was too strong. Why did they feel that he was not weaker than Wan Jiani? He was indeed a hidden peerless genius. If he appeared, he would definitely be able to enter the pilgrim list. He might even be able to compete with Wan Jiani, a sword genius. Looking at those people who were fleeing like stray dogs, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth raised into a smile. There was no need to chase after them. Those people were no longer a threat. After saying that, he turned his head and looked at those people in the distance. He said, "Get rid of these people." He still wants to attack. The hearts of the people of the Myriad Sword Pavilion were beating wildly. They still wanted to say something, but Lin Xian had already made his move. The huge sword in his hand did not disappear. Instead, it slashed out again. "Let's go and follow senior brother Wu Jian." The people of the Myriad Sword Pavilion also rushed out, killing in all directions. "Damn it, how dare you!" The people who were watching the battle from afar were very shocked by the result of the battle. They did not expect that the Devil Palace, which had a lot of people, would actually escape. It was really unexpected. However, they soon screamed. The people of the Myriad Sword Pavilion were actually going to attack them. Damn it! These people roared crazily and launched a counterattack. After a great battle, countless people were killed and injured. Many people had escaped and some had been buried here forever. The Myriad Sword Pavilion also suffered losses. A few sword saints were killed and some were injured. However, the effect they achieved was not bad. Those people in the surroundings were all beaten away by them. "Senior brother Wu Jian, what should we do?" "We don't know the exact location." Lin Xian said, "Don't worry. It's around here. Let's search." With that said, everyone spread out to investigate again. Lin Xian, on the other hand, casually walked to a place. Others didn't know, but he did. However, he couldn't show it directly, so he kept attacking. On his 6th attempt, he finally pierced through the bottom. A black ray of light appeared. It had appeared. The people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion immediately flew over. Looking at the cracked earth and the black light, they were all incomparably excited. There really was one. "Senior brother, this is great." Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He could finally collect the Great Spear of Destruction. Buzz buzz buzz. "Look, what's that?" The people in the distance naturally saw this scene as well. This aura was very similar to the one from before. It was the weapon of the Saint King. He appeared. "Go quickly." These people had originally come to watch the battle, but on the way they discovered such a change. They were all overjoyed and flew quickly. In addition, the eyes of those who had fled earlier were also red as they charged back. What to do? The sword saints of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were extremely nervous. There were so many people that they couldn't fight against at all. However, if they were to leave now, they would not be willing to accept it. Go and get it. These people wanted to go down, but they were forced back. Many of them vomited blood. No, the energy was too strong. They couldn't go down at all. Lin Xian said, "I'll go down. You guys just have to deal with them here for a while. Before coming, I've already spent a lot of money to buy a batch of array formations. I can give them to you now." At this point, Lin Xian took out a storage ring. There were 36 sets of array formations inside. He had set them up when he had nothing to do, but now he was giving them to these people. He wasn't doing it to help the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, but to help himself. If he delayed these people for a while, he could calmly collect the Great Spear of Destruction. These people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion didn't know that Lin Xian was pretending. They thought that he was really their senior brother. Therefore, they happily took it and began to set up the array formations. Everyone listened and restrained them with all their strength. They didn't have to fight them head-on. These people began to move. Lin Xian took a deep breath. turned into a sword light and drilled into the crack below. After going down, Lin Xian activated the world core. In an instant he arrived in the depths of the world. This place was already enveloped by boundless demonic qi. It was abnormally terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly and activated his divine body. The dragon sword soul also surrounded him. He also felt a huge pressure. Not long after, he saw an 8 trigrams furnace in front of him. There was a black spear inside, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. It was the Great Spear of Destruction. At this moment, the Great Spear of Destruction looked the same, but its power had undergone an earth-shattering change. Lin Xian was also incomparably surprised by this. However, in a flash, the Great Spear of Destruction was the heirloom of the Great Demon Clan. How could it be weak? He thought that it should be a sacred weapon that had been passed down through the ages. It had not displayed such power before because this weapon had been sealed. After all, it was the Great Demon back then. He was also very young, and his cultivation was only at the level of a saint. If he had a sacred weapon back then, he would probably have been targeted by countless powerhouses. Therefore, this kind of sealed weapon would be broken bit by bit as the user's strength increased. This time, Lin Xian used the 8 trigrams furnace to refine it. It might have affected the seal. It caused a lot of seals to break, so the true power of the Great Spear of Destruction was displayed. When he came here, he quickly stopped the 8 trigrams furnace. The 8 trigrams furnace turned into a small 8 trigrams and flew into his glabella. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it didn't take too long and it was not completely broken. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to subdue the Great Spear of Destruction. This was because the soul imprint he left on it was very dim. It would probably disappear completely in a few months. At that time, it would be an unparalleled murderous weapon. Perhaps only a true Saint King would be able to subdue it. Fortunately, he still had the soul imprint on it. He just needed to strengthen the soul imprint on it. Thinking of this, Lin Xian formed a seal with his palms and moved quickly. As soon as his soul came out, the heavenly secret god eyes exploded with endless power. Lin Xian strengthened the soul imprint again. The Great Spear of Destruction also wanted to resist. After all, it was an item of the Demon Clan. Lin Xian used the Great Sage Pagoda to suppress it. This was the real Great Sage Pagoda. At this moment, it suppressed the demon qi, causing the Great Spear of Destruction to be unable to resist. Just as he was in the process of collecting the Great Spear of Destruction, the people outside had already arrived. There were saints in all directions. Their eyes were red. Chapter 41:19. 10,000 Swords Pavilion. Did they find the treasure? Hurry up and hand it over. 10,000 Swords Pavilion, do you want to monopolize it? That's impossible. These people started to kill each other. The people of 10,000 Swords Pavilion swallowed their saliva and said, "Open the formation." The 36 formations in the surroundings were activated one after another. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Someone must be seizing the treasure. These people were not stupid. They rushed in an instant. An earth-shattering battle broke out. Lin Xian frowned slightly when he sensed the fluctuations from above. There were too many people here. The formations he gave were not enough. Thinking of this, he began to use the power of this world to suppress them. However, he found that the power of this world was much weaker than before. Could it be that the power was absorbed by the Spear of Destruction and used to break the seal? That made sense. It was said that in ancient times, there were super experts who used the power of several worlds as the price to nourish a weapon. There were even some terrifying ones that involved more than 10 worlds. When the weapon was formed, those worlds would be turned into ashes. That method was really terrifying. Lin Xian guessed that if he left it for a few more decades, the twin rain star would be completely shattered and its power would be sucked dry. Due to the influence of the power of the world, the people outside were in chaos. At this moment, there were lightning tribulations in the sky that struck down. The battle had completely erupted. Many people of 10,000 Swords Pavilion vomited blood. However, they also resisted with bloodshot eyes. However, at this moment, a saber light slashed down with an extremely terrifying aura. The formations in the sky were opened. Not good, quickly retreat. When the people of 10,000 Swords Pavilion saw this scene, they frantically retreated. 5 of them did not retreat in time and were instantly turned into blood mist. The remaining people felt their scalps go numb. A sacred venerable made a move. Finally, a sacred venerable came. That's great. The people of Demon Palace were ecstatic. The one who made a move was their elder. Quickly make a move. They were seizing the treasure below. Another saber light fell from the sky and covered the ground. The ground cracked and sank, destroying everything. Oh! Senior brother Wu Jian and the people of 10,000 Swords Pavilion screamed. This attack was too powerful. No matter how strong Wu Jian was, he would not be able to block it. Boom! Boom! In fact, Lin Xian had already felt it when the first saber light descended. Is the Lord here? He was a little anxious because he was so close to taking away the Great Destruction Spear. Initially he thought that he could hold on for a while longer. However, the appearance of the Sacred Master had pushed everyone away. Those saints did not dare to go against him. The second blade light slashed down. Lin Xian's face turned gloomy. Just a little more. He steeled his heart and directly activated the Great Sage Pagoda to defend himself. With a clang, the Great Sage Pagoda tumbled. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood, but he smiled. He had finally succeeded. At this moment, his soul imprint was imprinted on it. With a wave of his hand, the Great Destruction Spear turned into a jet black light that entered his sleeve. In the next moment he activated the Void Escape and steamed away. Boom! Boom! Everything around him shattered and sank. The rumor lasted for a long time before it slowly disappeared. That holy venerate from the Fiend Palace made a grabbing motion with his hand and pulled away all the ruins. In the next moment he saw blood filling the air. However, there was no trace of a person. The people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were also frantically searching. Senior brother Wu Jian? They did not find him. A person's voice trembled. Could it be that his astral soul had already been destroyed? No way. The other people also sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Such a powerful swordsman had been killed just like that? However, the people from the Fiend Palace sneered. This is the consequence of daring to oppose us. In their opinion, no matter how powerful the other party was, he would not be able to stop them. Everyone thought that Lin Xian had already been killed. However, Lin Xian walked out from the other side of the world. The mask on his body had also disappeared. The corners of his mouth rose into a smile. His figure flickered, and he found a safe place to enter closed-door training. The reason for that was because he wanted to strengthen his soul imprint again. After all, the current Great Destruction Spear was too powerful. If he did not nurture it carefully, he might even be injured. While he was in closed-door training, holy venerates arrived one after another. They joined hands and suppressed the entire world. At this moment, many people retreated. They only dared to watch quietly. Were those little saints also the first batch? They were high and mighty before, but compared to the holy venerates, they were insignificant. A holy venerate could sweep away everything. Nothing. The holy venerate of the Fiend Palace searched frantically. He discovered that not only had the person disappeared, but the weapon had also disappeared. This made his expression become very unsightly. Some people guessed that the weapon might have been destroyed. What kind of joke was this? If it was a weapon that could be easily destroyed by a holy venerate, would there be a need to be so frantic? Everyone shook their heads. That meant that the weapon had been snatched away by someone. Who was it? Was it Wu Jian? Impossible. He was only a mid-small saint. He did not have such heaven-defying methods. I guess there should be other experts hiding and secretly taking it away. But right at this moment, a sword light split the world. It carried a black aura and it was incomparably terrifying. It was the Dark Sword Master. Great. The surviving saints of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion rushed forward. We pay our respects to the Dark Sword Master. They were very excited. The Dark Sword Master asked, "Where is the item? Many of our people have been killed and the weapon has also disappeared. They were all from the Fiend Palace. It was them. If it were not for them, we would have already obtained the weapon." The eyes of these people were red. The Dark Sword Master snorted coldly. "Do you all want to die?" He slashed out with his sword. The dark sword technique pervaded heaven and earth. The entire sky darkened completely. The crowd seemed to have been deprived of their vision. Not good. Quickly defend yourself. These people screamed frantically. Fortunately, the Dark Sword Master was attacking the Fiend Palace. The Holy Venerate of the Fiend Palace shouted angrily, "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The two of them started fighting a world-shaking battle. Just the aftermath of their battle had torn many people from the Fiend Palace to pieces. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion also rushed forward crazily. Prepare to die. Both sides started fighting again. The battle shook heaven and earth. This lasted for a total of 10 days. The battle was very bitter. A group of experts from the Fiend Palace had died. Several sword saints from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion had died. Even the two great sage venerates were injured. The body of the Fiend Palace's holy venerate was split open. His internal organs flowed out. On the other side, several bloody holes appeared on the body of the Dark Sword Master. It was a ghastly sight. These wounds were extremely terrifying. There were remnants of the laws on them. It was difficult to erase them in a short period of time. Both sides were miserable. They could only stop fighting. The Dark Sword Master brought the remaining people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion and left. After descending, he asked in detail what had happened. Chapter 41:20. The people of Myriad Swords Pavilion gritted their teeth and said, "Senior brother Wu Jian was dead and the weapon was nowhere to be found." Dark Sword Master frowned as he healed himself. "Wu Jian? Who is that? Why haven't I heard of this name before?" Senior brother Wu Jian was nurtured by a sage. "He's the foundation of our Myriad Swords Pavilion," the Sword Saint said. The Dark Sword Master furrowed his brows tightly when he heard this. He naturally knew about the foundation of a sect. However, he had never heard of Wu Jian before. "Forget it. I'll ask the others when they arrive." Dark Sword Master closed his eyes and began to heal himself. Following that, the other Sage Sword Masters started to have conflicts. They searched for the weapon all over the world. In the end, they joined hands and sealed the entire world. They were only allowed to enter and not leave. Even if they had to turn the world upside down, they had to find the weapon. Experts from Myriad Swords Pavilion had arrived. This time, Wan Jianyi and another sword reverend came as well. There were also quite a number of late little saints who had come. It seemed like they were determined to get the weapon this time. After arriving, they met up with Dark Sword Master and the others. Dark Sword Master asked if they knew a person called Wu Jian. Those people were puzzled. "We don't have such a person in Myriad Swords Pavilion." "No one?" Dark Sword Master frowned. Those injured people from Myriad Swords Pavilion screamed. "Impossible. Senior brother Wu Jian is very powerful." Could it be that they were cheated? Some of them frowned. Someone had pretended to be a member of Myriad Swords Pavilion in order to take advantage of the situation. When they thought of this, their faces turned cold. "Impossible." Those people were dumbfounded. "We suspected it before, but he really knows the Myriad Swords sect." Other than Myriad Swords Pavilion, who else knows the Myriad Swords sect? As soon as these words came out, the faces of the two great Sage Sword Masters turned gloomy. A mysterious person knows the Myriad Swords sect. Damn it. This matter must be investigated thoroughly. It seemed like other than searching for the weapon, they were also searching for a person called Wu Jian. In the Great Sage Pagoda, Lin Shen opened his eyes. He felt that it was about time, so he prepared to leave. When he and Bai Chanshan came out, they found that their surroundings had changed. The aura of the entire world was very oppressive. Bai Chanshan's face was filled with fear. This was the aura of a saint, and there was more than one of them. This world was sealed. Lin Shen also frowned. It seemed like these people would not give up until they found the treasure. He turned into a stream of light and rushed into the sky with Bai Chanshan. The void shattered endlessly. However, at this moment, a massive sealing power pressed down on him, bouncing him back. Lin Shen frowned. The seal was very strong. Furthermore, it was not set up by one holy venerate but by at least 4 holy venerates working together. If he wanted to blast it open, he would have to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul with all his strength. Moreover, he would also need to accumulate power for a period of time. He would definitely be discovered. In fact, he had already been discovered. Countless figures gathered in this direction. Who was it that wanted to leave? It was too suspicious. They wanted to capture him and ask him. Lin Shen coldly snorted. Boundless sword chi intertwined to form a mask on his face. At the same time, terrifying sword chi swept in all directions. Do you want to die when the 10,000 Swords Pavilion is doing this? What a terrifying sword chi. He was a top genius of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. Some people were shocked when they saw this scene. There were also some people who were puzzled. One person screamed. "Could it be that you are that Wu Jian? Are you not dead?" It was too unbelievable. Back then, that was a saber strike from a holy venerate, but the other party was still alive. Lin Shen frowned. It seemed that he had been recognized. "But so what?" he said coldly. "Since you know who I am, hurry up and get lost. Those who block me will die." "Kid, although you are a sword Dao genius, so what?" This time it was not just one holy venerate but a joint effort. "You can forget about leaving." Someone sneered. And this news quickly spread. Coincidentally, Wan Jianyi and the others were nearby. When he received the news, he was instantly stunned. "Do you think that suspicious person has appeared? Follow me." He led the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion and turned into an endless stream of light, rushing into the distance. When Lin Xian saw that these people were unwilling to back down, he prepared to charge out forcefully. However, at this moment, the void shattered. Countless sword lights slashed and surrounded the surroundings. "Kid, it is indeed you." A cold voice was heard. The people around felt their scalps go numb. It was the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. Immediately, someone cupped his fists and said, "We are not targeting the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. It is just the rules. We hope that the 10,000 Swords Pavilion can understand." Wan Jinni turned his head and said, "You did not let him go. Very good. I am very grateful to you because this person is not from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion." What? The surrounding martial artists of the sacred city were stunned when they heard this. Not from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion? What is going on this time? Wan Jinni did not explain. Instead he said, "Everyone, the 10,000 Swords Pavilion needs to deal with some matters. Please leave." When those people heard this, they quickly retreated. They pushed far away but did not leave because this matter was too strange. They had to figure it out. Lin Xian frowned as well. Had he been exposed? Thinking that since Wan Jinni was here, other experts should be here too. Perhaps they already knew that he was not here. But so what? Now that his strength had increased greatly, he was no longer afraid of Wan Jinni. As long as he did not expose his identity as Lin Xian, it was fine. Let the other suspicions be. Lin Xian snorted. "You dare to doubt me?" Wan Jinni said, "Kid, stop pretending. You can't hide in front of me." "Is that so?" Lin Xian took a step forward. The aura on his body became unparalleled. He activated the 10,000 swords return to origin. All the sword chi in the 9 heavens and 10 earths moved towards him as if they were going to submit to him. The 10,000 swords returned to origin. Countless people screamed. Wan Jinni's pupils shrank. He had heard of this matter before, but he was still shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. Was the 10,000 Swords Pavilion's secret technique leaked out? "Who are you?" he said coldly. Lin Xian sneered. "I said that I am a genius secretly nurtured by the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. You are not qualified to know. If you want to know, ask the Saint King of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion." "Humph, nonsense." Wan Jinni snorted. A small saint behind him said, "Don't talk nonsense with him. Capture him and don't let the 10,000 swords return to origin spread out." The surrounding sword saints surrounded him. The terrifying aura caused the heaven and earth to freeze. Not good. Bai Qianshan's face became extremely pale. This scene was even more terrifying than when the green flood dragon race surrounded him in Immemorial City. Lin Xian smiled. "What? Do you want to fight with me? Aren't you afraid that you will be punished when you return?" Then he looked at Wan Jinni. "I heard that you are a sword genius. But now that I have appeared, you can give me this title." Chapter 41-21. Don't listen to him. This brat is just trying to stall for time. The surrounding sword saints felt a chill run down their spine. Wan Jinni waved his hand. "Don't worry, I'll give him a chance. Don't make a move, I'll take him down personally. Brat, do you think you have the right to escape after a one-on-one battle? You're too naive. I'll take off your mask personally and let you die knowing why." As he spoke, the law on his body erupted. The surrounding sword saints quickly retreated when they saw this scene. However, they didn't disperse. They had to prevent the other party from escaping. Lin Xian once again sent Bai Qianshan to the Black Earth. Then he turned his head and stared at Wan Jinni. In the next moment, a cold light burst out from his eyes. The battle had finally arrived. Moreover, he could compete with the other party with his sword skills openly. This made him extremely excited. The people in the distance were also screaming. Are the two sword geniuses going to have an intense collision? They really didn't know who would be stronger. They were all excited. They watched carefully. There were two swords in front of them. They bloomed and swept across the 9 heavens. When the two collided, they were like two peerless divine swords. They let out an earth-shattering sound and endless sword light swept across the surroundings. The surrounding people's ears were bleeding. Boom, boom. After the first exchange, the two of them continued to attack. After hundreds of exchanges, the sky fell and the earth cracked. Wan Jinni was shocked. He didn't expect the other party to really know the myriad returning swords. Moreover, it didn't seem to be any weaker than him. It was really unbelievable. Who is this person? Who is pretending to be him? A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. This is a peerless enemy that must be eliminated. Otherwise, he will be a very dangerous enemy in the future. Thinking of this, he decided to use other means. Previously, it was only the collision of the myriad returning swords. Now he was going to use other sword Dao laws. Starlight Law. The sword chi trembled. Like starlight, it quickly spread out and swept towards Lin Xian. Each of these starlights could penetrate a late-stage small saint. With so many starlights falling together, it could easily destroy everything. Lin Xian snorted. He didn't use other laws, only the sword Dao. His sword was incomparably sharp, pressing forward courageously. It was as if he and his sword alone could destroy all laws and great Daos. Sure enough, as Lin Xian brandished the starlight nomological laws, they kept shattering and dimming. In the end, the starlight nomological laws weren't obliterated. Lin Xian quickly arrived in front of Wan Jianyi and slashed down. With a bang, Wan Jianyi was blasted back. His entire arm was numb. The blood and qi in his body roiled, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Thunder sword technique. Boundless thunder and lightning appeared on Wan Jianyi's body. These sword chi became incomparably violent, capable of destroying everything. His strength had increased during this period of time. Xiao Chen was unrivaled under a holy venerate. He was even confident of blocking a few moves from a holy venerate. Therefore at this moment he did not care about Wu Jian at all. However, the more he fought, the more shocked he became. His opponent's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. Sword of Thunder, 3000 lightning haste. Endless thunder sword chi surged, and the entire world trembled. The surrounding people frantically retreated. It was too terrifying. It was as if this sword could destroy a world. The spectators were pushed thousands of miles away. Even so, they were covered in cold sweat and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. It's over. That Wu Jian is definitely dead. Under such a powerful thunder sword technique, no one could survive unless a holy venerate came. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He had to admit that Wan Jianyi was really strong, especially during this period of time. His cultivation had increased again. There were not many people under a holy venerate who could block this sword chi. However, he was confident. He took a deep breath. 10,000 swords returned to origin, and the principle of sword kept operating. The power of the great dragon sword soul also surged out. He struck out with a sword. This sword swept across the sky. It stirred up the wind and clouds, and the surrounding people trembled again. What a terrifying sword chi. Was this Wu Jian also so terrifying? Even Wan Jianyi's pupils shrank. He could not help but take a step back. The power that suddenly erupted from that sword shocked him greatly. Damn it, can his opponent's strength still increase? I don't believe it. He shouted angrily. Those swords of thunder became even more terrifying. Boom. It was as if a great apocalypse had happened, and the sky fell and the earth cracked. A huge crack appeared in the entire void, spreading to both sides. It was as if the world was split into two halves by the attack of the two. At this moment, the people on the double rain planet were shocked. Who was fighting? It was too terrifying. Not good, retreat quickly. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Many people knelt on the ground and kept worshipping. More people screamed in horror. Even those holy venerates opened their eyes one after another. The expressions of the two great sage venerates of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion changed. This aura was that of two top swordsmen fighting. One of them was Wan Jianyi's and the other was very unfamiliar. However, they felt that it seemed to have the aura of 10,000 swords return to origin. What was going on? The two of them looked at each other and thought of a name. Could it be that the person called Wu Jian had come? Did he not die? Let's go. The two of them urgently wanted to catch each other. At this moment. Except for them. The others also rushed into the distance. They wanted to find out. Who was fighting? Why was there a battle? Did they find the Sage King weapon? Endless sword chi rumbled in the sky. Then the two figures retreated. Wan Jianyi's face was extremely cold. On the other side, Lin Xian laughed. You're just SOSO. You keep saying that you want to kill me, but I'm afraid you can't do it. Damn it. Wan Jianyi's face was ugly. The surrounding people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were stunned. How could this be? The other party could actually compete with Wan Jianyi. This was unbelievable. How strong was this person? Kid, don't be too proud. I still have some tricks up my sleeve. Wan Jianyi was unhappy. He must take down the other party. However, at this moment, two terrifying figures descended from the void. Don't talk nonsense with him. Catch him. I have something to ask him. Yes, take his soul. The two holy venerates descended. Their powerful aura covered everything. Not good. The surrounding people were instantly sent flying 30 million miles away. They looked terrified. Lin Xian's face changed too. Are the holy venerates here? Wan Jiani, you're in luck today. Your holy venerate is here. Otherwise you would have died today. Lin Xian's body flashed. You wanted to leave. Do you think you can escape from our hands? The dark sword master sneered. He waved his sword. The entire sky darkened. It was as though all the light in the world was taken away. The other person was called the Sky-Splitting Sword Lord. With a sword, the endless sky split open. It was as though he was going to swallow Lin Xian. When the two great sage sword masters attacked, they were extremely powerful. No one could escape. Lin Xian's face changed too. They were indeed holy venerates. They were too strong. If he was in other places, he wouldn't be able to escape. He could only hide in the great sage tower. However, it was different here. He was the master of this world. He was here with the buffs of the world. Endless amounts of world energy surged in. Void escape. Chapter 41-22. In an instant, he activated the void escape technique to the maximum and disappeared into the void. Following that, two sword lights slashed out, causing the world to tremble. The destruction of the world was even more terrifying. However, the two great sage lords' expressions were ugly. The other party had disappeared without a trace. It was like a slap to their faces. One should know that they were Saint Lords. When they attacked, the other Saint Lords couldn't escape. But now, a minor saint had escaped from their hands. It was really embarrassing for them. Dark Saint Lord stood up and said coldly, "All disciples of Myriad Sword Pavilion, listen up. Search for Wu Jian and kill him without mercy." The moment the order came out, the people of Myriad Sword Pavilion were stunned. Even Wan Jiani was stunned. His mind was in a daze. What's going on? The other party escaped? Impossible. He would die for sure if the two great sage lords attacked. How could the other party escape? The people in the distance also sucked in a breath of cold air. Who exactly was this person? Hurry up and move. Dark Sword Lord saw this scene and shouted coldly. Wan Jiani and the rest quickly searched for Wu Jian. This time it was really spectacular. Countless sword saints of Myriad Sword Pavilion started to sweep through the world. They wouldn't let go of any possibility. On the other side, Lin Xian used the void escape technique and world energy to leave the place. However, his expression didn't ease up. Because through this world, he could clearly sense that the people of Myriad Sword Pavilion were frantically searching for him. With this speed, they would receive his message soon. Damn these people. Do they really think that he's a pushover? Bai Chanshan was also worried. Brother Wu Jian, what should we do? Chanshan, stay inside and don't come out. Leave the rest to me. Competing in numbers? Lin Xian's expression was cold. Then let's see who called for more people. Lin Xian took out a Sky Devil order and crushed it, sending the message out. Sky Devil overturn region. At this moment, the people of Sky Devil clan all stood up. Their eyes were filled with terrifying light. Old Ancestor is summoning us. Hurry up and go to the general appointment platform. These experts of the Sky Devil race turned into shadows and charged forward in a dense crowd. Double Rain Star. Everyone was in a state of panic. The 10,000 Swords Pavilion seemed to have gone crazy as they searched. The others were trembling in fear. With so many sword saints moving together, no one dared to resist at this time. We've checked the north, but there's nothing there. We've checked in the west, but there's nothing there. Only the south and east were left. Let's go to the south first, then to the east. I don't believe that he can escape. These people moved out in a frenzy. At the same time in the east, Lin Xian opened his eyes. In the next moment, a purple vortex appeared in the void above his head, and silhouettes emerged from it. This scene was so terrifying that everyone in the world saw it. What was that? Did someone come in again? Someone had broken the seal. These people were screaming crazily. Those from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were originally flying toward the south, but when they saw the abnormal phenomenon in the eastern sky, they immediately came to a halt. Let's go to the east. There's a situation there. Under the leadership of the two great sage lords, these people attacked frantically. Double Rain Planet, east. 3,000 demonic shadows landed. They looked at Lin Xian in front of them and knelt respectfully on one knee to pay their respects to the patriarch. Get up. Lin Xian's eyes were also filled with pride and coldness. He seemed to have really turned into a demon god. He said, "Get up and follow me to kill the enemy." 3,000 heavenly demons had appeared. Lin Xian was going to play a big game today. Not only did he want to hunt down the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, but he also wanted to uproot all the forces on Double Rain Star. This was his world and no one could touch it. But they swore to follow the patriarch to death. The 3,000 heavenly demons stood up. Each of them had a monstrous demonic aura on their bodies. Even Lin Xian's body was stained with a layer of terrifying aura. "Let's go." He took the lead and rushed out. The 3,000 demonic shadows followed behind him. These people were mighty and unstoppable between heaven and earth. Not long after, they stopped because they found a team. This team was not from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, but from the Fiend Palace. The Fiend Planet was relatively close to this place. Therefore, there were many people from the Fiend Palace on it. At this moment, there were people from all 4 continents. The Eastern continent supported this team. When they saw the strange phenomenon in the eastern sky, they naturally came to check it out. The next moment, they were scared out of their wits. They saw 3,000 heavenly demons standing in the sky. Each of them had a terrifying aura. There was no lack of minor saints among them. There were even some existences above the minor saint realm. That aura almost scared them to death. Why are there so many heavenly demons here? They were shocked. Lin Xian looked at the Fiend Palace. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. "I'll start with you guys. Kill." He waved his hand. The 3,000 heavenly demons behind him roared, and a terrifying Devil Dao divine ability rushed out. Demonic aura covered the sky. Damn it. The people of the Fiend Palace also counterattacked crazily. Demonic shadows swept across the sky. However, there were only 100 of them. How could they be a match for 3,000 heavenly demons? In an instant, they were shrouded in endless demonic light. Blood filled the air and miserable cries rang out. It was a hellish scene. There were 10 late minor saints among them. They were roaring crazily. "Damn it! Why did you heavenly demons attack me?" The 10 late minor saints were on the verge of tears. They had never provoked the Fiend Palace, right? The leader was a young man. He was wearing a devil armor and holding a long spear. Looking at Lin Xian, he roared crazily. "Just you wait. My Fiend Palace will never let this matter rest." Lin Xian snorted coldly. "Do you think you can still go back and report this to the Fiend Palace?" These people had occupied his world for so long, and now they had broken his world into pieces. How could he let these people leave? He would use the blood of these people to repair his world. When he thought of this, he waved his finger and a sword chi shot out. The sword chi was like an azure dragon. With a roar, it suddenly enlarged and danced in the sky. The sky fell and the earth cracked. In front of him, the expression of the minor saint who was wearing devil armor changed instantly. It was too strong. It was beyond his expectation. Retreat. He retreated crazily. However, it was too late. In an instant, the azure dragon sword appeared in front of him. He opened his mouth and spat out a black mountain. There was a devil face on the mountain. It opened its mouth and spat out a black light blade. It wanted to block the azure dragon sword chi. The mountain was 80,000 zhang tall. The black wind blade could destroy everything. However, it was ineffective at this moment. With a loud clang, the 80,000 zhang tall mountain was split apart by the sword chi. How is this possible? The face of the man in devil armor was pale. His eyes were filled with despair. In the next moment, he was shrouded by the sword chi. The devil armor on his body was shattered and his body was torn apart. Run. His soul escaped from his broken body, screaming crazily. The other 9 minor saints wanted to resist, but when they saw this scene, they were scared out of their wits. Chapter 41-23. Escape. Every single one of them would escape. The remaining experts of the Devil Palace fled in all directions. Lin Xian retracted his hand and said coldly, "Don't leave a single one alive." Yes. The 3,000 heavenly demons moved out one after another. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 saints of the Devil Palace were killed. The small saints' astral souls were also destroyed. Endless saint blood sprinkled between heaven and earth. The scene was very miserable. Lin Xian used the power of his world to envelop the sage blood and extract the energy within to repair the world. At this moment, the sound of air being torn apart could be heard from all directions. They were people who came from other places. They wanted to see what the strange phenomenon in the east was. When they arrived, they just happened to see the last scene. That terrifying scene made their scalps go numb. Bus. The 3,000 heavenly demons were stained with blood in the void. Their gazes were few and far between. The hearts of the people in the surroundings beat wildly. The heavenly demons. Damn it. It's 3,000 heavenly demons. Why are there so many experts? The people who came kept retreating. They even said, "We don't mean to offend you. We'll leave now." They flew madly into the distance. Bus. At this moment, Countless sword energies flickered in the sky. They tore open the void and transformed into figures nearby. They were the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. The people who originally wanted to retreat stopped and revealed strange expressions. 10,000 Swords Pavilion. If these fitness centers were to join forces, they would be an extremely terrifying force. Who knew what would happen next? They were all prepared to watch. After the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion arrived, they looked at the 3,000 heavenly demons and frowned. Why are there so many people? Moreover, they are the people of the heavenly demons. It's not the Wu Jian they were looking for. Wan Jian's pupils shrank when he saw a figure. He exclaimed in surprise. Dark Sword Master asked, "What's going on? Did you find that person?" Wan Jian's expression changed. He said no, but he found another familiar person. He pointed to the front. Everyone looked over. Further ahead, among the countless heavenly demons, there was a person. Although he was also surrounded by black energy, there was a golden light flickering around him. He was completely different from the 3,000 heavenly demons. Lin Wudi. Wan Jian gritted his teeth and roared. The others' faces also changed. Lin Wudi? They looked at him carefully. Some people took in a cold breath. It's really him. It's Lin Wudi again. He hasn't come out for a long time. They didn't expect him to stir up a storm. How could he mobilize so many experts of the Sky Devil race? He didn't know, but it seemed like the Heaven Devil race had been helping him since the beginning. Sounds of exclamations and discussions could be heard. "Oh, Wan Jian, long time no see." Lin Xin walked up and smiled faintly. "I thought you would hide in seclusion and not dare to come out. You think I'm..." "What a joke." Wan Jian snorted coldly. "If you don't believe me, you can try." Lin Xin walked out. He had just fought with Wan Jian, but that was a fight. He wasn't weaker than Wan Jian. If the two Saint Venerables hadn't come, he could have seriously injured or even killed Wan Jian. Now he wanted to use other techniques. It would be best if he could find a chance to kill Wan Jian. On the other side, Wan Jian also wanted to use this chance to kill Lin Xin. After all, he was terrified of Lin Xian's growth. Boom. Boom. He activated 10,000 swords in an instant. Terrifying sword energy swept out like seawater. The surrounding people also retreated. Darkness Saint Venerable looked at this scene and waved his hand, pushing them far away. If it was before, they would have attacked without caring about anything. But now they couldn't. There were 3,000 heavenly demons on the other side. There must be Saint Venerables among them. They couldn't act rashly. Let Wan Jian make his move. With his strength, defeating Lin Wudi would not be a problem. Lin Xin snorted. He didn't use 10,000 swords in an instant. Instead, he used the 9 Yang divine body to the extreme. The power of the 9 Yang divine body was vast. He was like a sun that emitted endless radiance. The power of the flames caused the surrounding people to tremble uncontrollably. The 3,000 heavenly demons also retreated far away. They were also full of confidence. How could their old ancestor be defeated? Buzz. Wan Jian felt the aura of Lin Xin became even more terrifying. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He must kill Lin Xin today. He wouldn't give Lin Xin any chance to grow. He struck out with the dragon-slaying sword, slashing out with it. The sword energy surged and turned into endless ribbons, whistling in front. Those late minor saints felt their scalps go numb. They realized that they might not even be able to block a single sword energy. Lin Xin sneered in the face of such a terrifying attack. He flicked his golden hand and slapped forward. Flames flickered on his 5 fingers as if they had turned into a golden crow. He grabbed it forcefully and the flames evaporated the sword energy. "Wan Jian, is this all you've got? You'll have to cultivate for another 10,000 years if you want to kill me. Is it because you were scared out of your wits in the Green Mountain world? Has your strength regressed?" Lin Xin sneered. As he spoke, he clenched his other hand into a fist and punched forward. Boom. A terrifying aura filled the air. The fist turned into a sun. Even some of the Saint Sovereigns frowned. Lin Wudi was too powerful. His cultivation was 1 realm lower than Wan Jian, but his combat strength wasn't weak at all. Moreover, he was almost on par with the Saint Sovereigns. No wonder his name could be heard in the Second Star World. He was indeed powerful. Wan Jian's face turned gloomy. Lin Xin wanted to fight him in close combat. He knew that Lin Xin's physique was strong. Therefore, he struck out endless sword energy to block the attack. At the same time, his body swayed and his speed reached the extreme. The sect returning swords, together with his sword techniques, could sweep everything away. As expected, the golden fist slowed down when it collided with the endless sword energy. Finally it stopped in midair. Even the flames on it dimmed and would be extinguished at any time. Wan Jiani sneered. Lin Xian was still lacking compared to him. However, his expression changed quickly and he was even sent flying. Because a Tai Chi diagram had appeared above his head without him knowing. The power of yin and yang descended. That power could destroy everything. Fortunately he was fast enough. He dodged in an instant. However, some of the power still hit him and sent him flying. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The armor formed by the sword energy on his body was also shattered instantly. Damn it. Wan Jiani's face turned cold. He was too careless. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly rushed over. His fists kept dancing as if thousands of suns were exploding in the air. 6th update. Please support. Please recommend, reward, subscribe, bookmark, monthly vote. Chapter 41-24. Get lost. Wan Jiani felt a chill run down his spine. Although he had the sect-forming swords and was not afraid of close combat with anyone, that did not include Lin Xian. After many battles, it had been proven that Lin Xian's physique was ridiculously strong. He was not willing to sacrifice himself to such a person. Hence, in an instant he unleashed countless sword auras, which turned into a sword screen and fell from the sky. Boom boom boom. The golden fist hit the sword tomb and made a thunderous sound. The sword screen shook violently and cracks appeared on it. At this moment, Wan Jiani retreated and unleashed 3 more sword auras. These 3 sword auras passed through the sword screen and attacked Lin Xian's vital points. One was between his eyebrows, one was his throat, and one was his heart. Ultimate kill. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a terrifying light. The law of death condensed in his left hand and the law of sun surrounded his right hand. He struck out with both palms and blocked the 2 sword auras. At the same time, his right leg was like a giant dragon with an incomparably sharp sword aura. He kicked out. Boom boom boom. 3 thunderous sounds were heard. Wan Jiani's ultimate kill was blocked. When the surrounding people saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. There was no way they could dodge such a fatal blow. Some of the top experts even thought that they would be seriously injured even if they could dodge. But now Lin Xian blocked it with ease. This was really unbelievable. After blocking the 3 ultimate kills, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light and he roared. He became terrifying again as if 2 giant dragons were moving between heaven and earth. Boom. A terrifying sound was heard. The sword screen shook violently and then broke apart. The terrifying power swept over like a flood. Wan Jiani's ultimate kill was blocked and he was still in shock. When he felt the power, his face changed drastically. He held his long sword in front of him and shook it continuously. Countless law of sword filled the air. He wanted to block it, but he was still forced to retreat. He took dozens of steps back and crushed the void. In the next moment he spat out a mouthful of blood and his face became extremely pale. He was injured. The surrounding people widened their eyes. Lin Xian was already able to injure Wan Jiani. Didn't that mean that his strength was above Wan Jiani's? Thinking of this possibility, these people felt like they were going crazy. It had only been a short period of time, but Lin Wudi had not only made it onto the pilgrim list, but his ranking on the pilgrim list was also growing stronger and stronger. Wan Jiani could definitely be ranked in the top 3 on the pilgrimage leaderboard. He even had the chance to fight for first place. But now he was still injured. How could this be? The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion couldn't believe it. The faces of the 2 great sage lords were equally gloomy. Damn it, this was beyond their expectations. However, they said, "Don't worry, Wan Jiani still has a trump card he hasn't used yet. Brat, I didn't expect you to force me to this extent. This is the end of it." Wan Jiani's eyes were filled with insanity as his handsome face became somewhat distorted. This time his death would be a great humiliation. He would not give the other party another chance. Boom. Boom. As his voice fell, an extremely terrifying aura spread out from his body. It was enough to destroy the world. As soon as it appeared, it swept through the surrounding area. What kind of aura is this? The people around felt their hair stand on end. They felt their bodies trembling uncontrollably. The 3,000 heavenly demons behind frowned as well. This aura was too unusual. However, they didn't make a move. Without the order of the old ancestor, they didn't dare to make a move. On the other side, the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion revealed a cold smile. The terrifying aura of destruction spread out, quickly forming into sword shadows that spread out in all directions, completely enveloping the entire space. Those sword shadows of destruction kept rotating. Every aura seemed to be filled with endless power. Far away, a charming figure looked at the scene with a look of surprise. This was the destruction sword formation. She didn't expect that the other party could use it, and to such an extent. Could it be that he brought that thing with him? Qin Xian'er was really shocked. As expected of Wang Jianyi, he indeed had a powerful trump card. The others also sighed. Lin Wudi was strong, but his trump card was still a little weaker than Wang Jianyi's. They were afraid that Wang Jianyi would win this battle in the end. Lin Xian frowned when he sensed the destructive aura. His face turned a little cold. The aura that Wang Jianyi was emitting was a great threat to him. To be honest, he didn't believe that with Wang Jianyi's current strength, he could use such a sword formation. This guy had a rare treasure in his body, so he must have brought something with him. It seemed that this should be his trump card. The power is indeed very strong. I have underestimated you. However, can you fully control this kind of sword formation? Don't be the first to be destroyed before the enemy is destroyed. There were many cases of people being counterattacked by rare treasures. Therefore, once the power of a treasure was beyond one's control, it would be a dangerous item. Kid, you dare to underestimate me? I admit that I can't fully unleash the power of the destruction sword formation. But it's too easy to kill you. Wang Jianyi revealed a sinister smile and quickly formed a seal with his palms. The surrounding destruction sword chi vibrated rapidly, and an extremely terrifying aura spread out. Under this aura, heaven and earth shattered rapidly, and the surrounding people retreated frantically. Buzz! Lin Xian waved his hand, and 36 Big Dipper combat swords appeared and surrounded him. Those combat swords also emitted an unparalleled aura to resist the destruction sword formation. Kill! Lin Xian too formed a seal with his palms and roared. The 36 combat swords had dragon shadows circling around them, as if they had turned into giant dragons. The 36 dragon shadows surged between heaven and earth, and roared together to resist the destruction sword chi. Wang Jianyi snorted and waved his arm, and a sky full of destruction sword chi rushed over. It was like a storm. The two sword formations clashed repeatedly. Even the holy venerates frowned when they saw the power of the sword formations. An intense battle broke out, and it was beyond everyone's imagination. In the end, no one dared to stay in this place as they didn't know what the final result would be. Such top geniuses would be able to fight against sacred venerables if they took another step forward. Yes, it would be a great loss if even one of them died. However, such geniuses had become sworn enemies. It was really regrettable. It's useless, you can't resist my destruction sword chi. Let me show you what destruction is. Wang Jianyi smiled sinisterly. Those destruction swords were too terrifying, and they could make people despair. However, he soon realized that he didn't destroy his opponent. In the endless shattered void, there were 36 dragon shadows, as if they had turned into peerless divine swords, dancing between heaven and earth. His destruction sword chi had been sliced apart. How could it be? Wang Jianyi screamed. Chapter 41-25. Could Lin Fan's sword chi split the destruction sword chi? What a joke, he had never heard of it before. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This was beyond his understanding. Damn it, this guy had a rare treasure too. Thinking of this, Wang Jianyi's face became even gloomier. He must kill Lin Fan. Seeing that Wang Jianyi had changed from confidence to exasperation, Lin Xian's lips curled into a sneer. Competing with him with trump cards? Wang Jianyi was the one who didn't know what was good for him. Next, I'll let you have a taste of my power. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with unparalleled killing intent. Not only was his swordsmanship strong, but his formations were also terrifying. Moreover, he had obtained a heaven-breaking formation previously. At this moment, he wanted to use the 36 Tiangang swords to break Wang Jianyi's sword formation. Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes and began to break the formation. The 36 Tiangang swords were like his fingers. They were very agile and kept piercing through the void. It seemed that they were aimless. However, each time they hit the weak points of the formation. This heaven-breaking formation could break so many terrifying formations in the hands of Master Spirit Turtle, let alone in the hands of Lin Xian. Its power would only be stronger than Master Spirit Turtle. Boom boom boom. The 36 Tiangang swords were getting faster and faster. In the end, they turned into countless light shadows and danced between heaven and earth. Everyone was dazzled. Just the terrifying energy fluctuation alone was enough to make them unable to get close. If they were inside, they would probably turn into a bloody mist in an instant. Something was wrong. There was something wrong with the situation. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. What was going on? The others asked. An old man said, sense carefully. The aura of the destruction sword formation was weakening. No way, how was this possible? They all probed. In the next moment they were all dumbfounded. It was true, the aura of the destruction sword formation was much weaker than before. What was going on? The people of Wanjiani also noticed this, and their expressions changed drastically. The two sacred venerables frowned. Could it be that the destruction sword formation was broken by Lin Fan? In the battle ahead, Lin Xian said, I said I'll destroy your sword formation. Wanjiani's face. Destruction sword wave. He roared. Those destructive sword energies suddenly blossomed with incomparable light, and then began to tremble rapidly. Wave after wave of sword waves swept out in all directions. The destructive power of the sword formation suddenly erupted and completely engulfed Lin Xian. Everything in front of him turned into nothingness. The expressions of the surrounding people stiffened. Under this kind of attack, Lin Wuti would most likely die, right? Wanjiani's lips curled into a cold smile when he saw this. So what if the other party was strong? He had finally gotten rid of his opponent. On the other side, when the people of the 10,000 Sword sect saw this scene, they started laughing out maniacally. This was great. Senior Brother Wan is mighty. How could that Lin Wuti be mentioned in the same breath as Senior Brother Wan? Did Lin Wuti lose? In the distance, Qin Xiener frowned when she saw this scene. That was impossible. Suddenly her eyes flashed. As expected, this brat couldn't have been killed so easily. Boom. In the midst of the destructive void, 36 sword lights suddenly erupted and charged out. Lin Xian, surrounded by the Big Dipper sword formation, walked out like a sword god. This move of yours is not bad. If it were other geniuses they would have been killed. But unfortunately this kind of attack can't kill me. A cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. Countless people were stunned. They all turned their heads to look. It was Lin Wuti. He didn't die? These people were really too shocked. Wanjiani's eyelids were also twitching. You didn't die? Impossible. He was really stunned. Lin Xian said, everything is over. You are the one who lost this battle. He roared. The 36 swords suddenly enlarged and then quickly merged. The 36 swords turned into a giant sword. Lin Xian held it and split the sky open. Damn it, destruction sword wave. Wanjiani once again launched his attack and clashed with the 36 golden giant swords. Between heaven and earth, there was a loud explosion. A storm swept across. However, this time the destruction sword wave did not succeed. Instead, it was ruthlessly torn apart. The 36 sword shadows enveloped Wanjiani. It was too unbelievable. Previously, Wanjiani almost won. But now he was in danger of being killed. Damn it. The people of the Wanjiani pavilion were nervous. The 3,000 heavenly demons sneered. How could their old ancestor lose? Crack, crack, crack. Wanjiani's face was ugly. He tried his best to resist. However, the destruction sword formation was constantly shattering at this moment. It was impossible to resist at all. Damn it, I can't accept this. The other party's sword chi was already unstoppable. However, it was indeed impossible for the other party to kill him. He was about to be hit by the sword. However, at this moment, a crazy light appeared in Wanjiani's eyes. His eyes turned gray. A sword light flew out from his body and charged towards the Big Dipper sword. With a bang, the 36 Big Dipper swords were all sent flying. A terrifying aura swept in all directions. Lin Xian was also sent flying by this force. Not good, retreat quickly. The people in the surroundings were affected as well. Many people did not manage to escape in time and their bodies were torn apart. The remaining people screamed crazily. Damn it, what is this thing? Those people were stunned. The people of the Wanjiani pavilion were also stunned. Soon they screamed. The destruction sword, this was the weapon of the Sage King. Senior Brother One actually brought this weapon here? They were really too shocked. In the distance, Qin Xiener's pupils shrank. The weapon of the Sage King. Indeed, this was Wanjiani's trump card. With this thing, even a Sage King could not kill him. Brat, you can go to hell to force me to this step. Wanjiani's black hair fluttered. His expression was ferocious. With a roar, he communicated with the destruction sword above him. It was a gray long sword. It was very simple and had a destructive aura on it. It was abnormally terrifying. When the destruction sword slashed down, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. The world was split into two. Lin Xian was enveloped by the sword. Not good, the 3,000 heavenly demons were also not calm at this moment. Damn it, they were going crazy. They could not let the patriarch be in danger. However, on the other side, the two great sage lords of the Wanjiani pavilion snorted when they saw this scene. Where are you going? They also led their people to attack. This was their only chance to kill Lin Xian. They would not let the heavenly demons ruin it. Scram. The 3,000 heavenly demons were very strong. They exploded with unparalleled power the moment they attacked. Other than the two sage lords, the rest of the Wanjiani pavilion were all sent flying. Those who were not injured vomited blood, while those who were more injured were turned into blood mist. However, they were still stopped for a moment. Although it was only for a few seconds, it was enough for Wanjiani. It was even enough for him to kill Lin Xian several times. Die. Chapter 41-26. The Sword of Destruction fell mercilessly. Lin Xian felt that his body was about to split open. This destructive power was really terrifying. As expected of the Saint King's weapon. But so what? A hint of killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. A long black spear shot out from the ground. He held the great spear of destruction and directly slashed it out. The great dragon sword soul roared, and there was a dragon shadow on the great spear of destruction. He waved it with all his strength and collided with the sword of destruction. Boom, boom, boom. The great spear of destruction was a legendary weapon. As it was continuously unsealed, its power was equivalent to a Saint King's weapon. This was the attack of two Saint King's weapons. The power was too strong. The 3,000 heavenly demons retreated, and the people of the 10,000 swords pavilion on the other side were also sent flying. The two sword venerables were both affected, and there was a hint of shock in their eyes. However, there was a sneer at the corner of their mouths. With this attack, the other party would definitely die. No. The 3,000 heavenly demons roared, and their eyes turned red. However, they soon realized that something was wrong. Other than the sword of destruction, they also felt an extremely terrifying aura. Moreover, the demonic aura there was monstrous, and it was even more terrifying than the aura of their 3,000 heavenly demons combined. Saint Artifact. And it was the demon race's Saint Artifact, and it didn't seem to be weaker than the sword of destruction. The aura of the sword of destruction originally filled the entire world. At this moment it was gradually suppressed. On the other side, the demonic aura was monstrous, as if the demon ancestor had been resurrected. Damn it. Wanjiani's pupils constricted in disbelief. He didn't expect that the other party would actually block the fatal situation. Lin Xian's body was surrounded by demonic aura, and his expression was abnormally cold. It turned out that the Saint King's weapon was your greatest trump card. However, it was impossible for you to kill me. 3,000 heavenly demons, listen to my order, kill without mercy. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the 3,000 heavenly demons roared crazily. Great, their patriarch was fine. And it seemed that he also had the Saint King's weapon defense. This way they didn't have to worry. They turned into demonic shadows and rushed forward. Damn it. The people of the 10,000 swords pavilion roared crazily. Although there were many experts on their side. Although they had many experts, they didn't have as many people as the 3,000 heavenly demons. Run away quickly. The people in the surroundings knew that a chaotic battle was about to break out, and the entire world would be affected. It was better to escape from this place first. Some fled to the edge of the world, while others directly tore through the void. He wanted to flee to the outer realms. In the end, the world was sealed by the Lord, and there was no way to escape. This made them feel despair. The battle became one-sided. The 3,000 heavenly demons were too ferocious, suppressing the 10,000 swords pavilion in an instant. The 10,000 swords pavilion suffered heavy losses. However, these were all terrifying sword saints and two holy venerables. After the initial panic, they quickly adjusted themselves. They combined into many sword formations to resist. However, that was all he could do. He couldn't resist it at all. 10,000 swords won, come back. The dark sword master roared crazily. Wanjiani quickly retreated. Lin Xian released a few strands of demonic qi that transformed into black dragons, wanting to keep the other party here. However, they were all stopped by the sword of destruction. Elder. Wanjiani returned to the side of the Dark Sword Master and the others. The Dark Sword Master and the Heaven-Opening Sword Master, the two great Sage Sword Masters, had grave expressions on their faces. They said that everyone was to listen to their orders. They were to use the sect origin swords and transfer their strength to the Sword of Destruction. This was their last hope. Although they weren't Sage Kings and couldn't completely control the Sword of Destruction, they could transfer their strength to the Sword of Destruction. This way they could protect themselves. As expected, these people transferred their strength to the Sword of Destruction. The Sword of Destruction trembled non-stop. In fact, the seal that the Holy Venerables had set up in this world was also broken at this moment. Everyone in the entire Double Rain planet raised their heads and looked into the distance. What a terrifying aura. This was the Sage King's weapon that was awakening, the Sword of Destruction. As the sword slashed down, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. The 3,000 heavenly demons were sent flying, and many of them spat out blood. Come over. At the back, Lin Xian saw this scene and roared in anger. This was no longer a battle between sages. This was a battle of foundations and the strength of a group. He wouldn't let the 3,000 heavenly demons die for nothing. After the 3,000 heavenly demons heard the order, they quickly retreated and surrounded Lin Xian. Lin Xian said, "He has the Sage King's sword and so do we. Give it our strength." Lin Xian took out the Spear of Destruction. The black spear bloomed and it could break the 9 heavens. The 3,000 heavenly demons felt the demonic aura, and their eyes turned red. Their strength was all given to the Spear of Destruction. When the people on the other side saw this scene, they were also shocked. As expected, the other party also had a Sage King's weapon. No wonder the other party was able to block the Sword of Destruction's attack just now. Why did this aura feel so familiar? Some people frowned. They felt that it was very similar to what they were looking for previously. However, they weren't very sure. After all, the 3,000 heavenly demons might have brought the Sage King's weapon with them. The demonic aura on the spear was monstrous. They couldn't be completely sure, and now was not the time for them to think too much. Because the Spear of Destruction had attacked. This attack seemed to be tearing the 9 heavens apart. This attack was really too terrifying. Hurry up and attack. On the side of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, they worked together to launch a destructive attack. The Spear of Destruction and the Sword of Destruction collided. Boom. The world was collapsing and falling apart. The people below were too weak and they were crushed by this power. The stronger ones also felt their scalps go numb, and they fled frantically. This power was too terrifying. At this moment, no one could resist. After the attack, Lin Xian and the 3,000 heavenly demons retreated. On the other side, the people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion vomited blood. They retreated even further. The 2 great sage lords in the 10,000 Swords Pavilion vomited blood. Some of their bodies even directly cracked and fell into the void. There was no other way. Both sides were sages and Sage King's weapons. However, Lin Xian's side had the advantage in numbers, so the power of recovery was stronger. Damn it. Hurry up and leave. After the attack, the Darkness Sage Lord and the others instantly controlled the Sword of Destruction again, and shot out rays of light. It enveloped them. They didn't attack again but fled into the distance. Wanna leave? Lin Xian roared and attacked. The 3,000 heavenly demons once again poured the power of laws in their bodies. At the same time, Lin Xian frantically mobilized the power of the world to block. It was another heaven-shaking strike. The Sword of Destruction was hit, and it kept shaking. Thousands of swords hung down, tearing everything apart. The people inside were injured again and they vomited large mouthfuls of blood. However, it was a Sage King's weapon after all. In an instant, it tore through the void and left. Lin Xian snorted coldly and ran quite fast. However, the other party had the Sword of Destruction, so it was impossible to completely kill those people. Seriously injuring the other party was already a very good result. Lin Xian quickly descended with the 3,000 heavenly demons. At the same time, he put away the Great Spear of Destruction. There was great chaos in the Double Rain planet and the void kept collapsing. Previously, the energy did not disappear and some people fled frantically. Lin Xian looked at this scene with a solemn expression. Although he had displayed his power this time and forced the 10,000 Swords Pavilion to retreat, it was still not enough. However, he felt that this was not enough. He wanted to let these people know what pain was. Chapter 41-27. Lin Xian planned to release the news again. Then, he and the 3,000 heavenly demons would work together to make a fake Saint King weapon. Let these people fight for it. Previously, the collision between the Spear of Destruction and Destruction had made these people deeply realize how terrifying the Saint King weapon was. Once these people heard the news, they would definitely come regardless of everything. Next, Lin Xian and the 3,000 heavenly demons began to create a fake Saint King weapon. On the other side, Wang Wanjian and the others had escaped from planet Double Rain and came to a nearby world. They landed. After landing, the bodies of the two great sage venerables swayed. One Jianni spat out another mouthful of blood. The others wailed in pain. Obviously, although their lives were saved, their injuries were not light. Damn it, they really deserved to die. One Jianni kept roaring. Originally, he thought that he could easily kill the other party with the Saint King weapon. Who would have thought that he would make a mistake? Not only did the other party not die, but they were also seriously injured. This piece of news spread like wildfire. So much so that everyone knew that the previous collision was the collision of the Saint King weapon. Was this the weapon of the Saint King? It was only used by the Saint King and the others, and it was already so terrifying. If it was used by the Saint King himself, how terrifying would it be? With a light wave, the entire double rain planet would be reduced to ashes, right? Indeed, even if it wasn't the full-strength attack of the Saint King, the collision just now had caused double rain planet to be torn into pieces. This was still Lin Xian trying his best to control the power of the world and use most of his power in the outer space. Otherwise, the destruction would be even more severe. No wonder those who use such weapons would leave the world of stars and fight in the outer space. Because the destructive power was too terrifying. Everyone was cleaning up the mess. Many people were even preparing to return. They felt that this battle was over. In the end, Lin Wudi's side won. However, after that, the news spread again. On planet Double Rain, the aura of the Saint King weapon once again filled the air. This stimulated everyone. Could it be that the treasure hadn't been taken by others yet? That was definitely the case. These people's eyes were red. They quickly went to their families, the holy city. In an instant they all moved out. The 10,000 Swords Pavilion and the Dark Sword Master also received the news. At this moment, their injuries were more or less healed. After hearing the news, he immediately stood up and left. They decided to go to the Double Rain planet again. Since they had the Sword of Destruction, they believed that their lives would not be in danger. Therefore he was prepared to go back and risk his life. If he could obtain another Saint King weapon, he would be rich. Buzz, on this day the Double Rain Star was once again cut open by a sword light, and the aura of destruction once again descended upon the earth. It was the aura of the Sword of Destruction. The people of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion were back. In the depths of the world, Lin Xian used the power of the world to envelop all of them, concealing their auras. This time they were prepared to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. They would not make a move. Sensing the aura of the Sword of Destruction, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. It seemed that humans would die in pursuit of wealth and birds would die in pursuit of food. Despite knowing that there was danger, the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion still dared to come back. This time, not only did the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion come, but the people from the Demon City also came. The strong cultivators also brought Saint King weapons. It was a mirror, the myriad demons' mirror. The demonic chi that fell down was incomparable. Not long after, bolts of thunder fell. Following that, a thunder giant appeared. It was indomitable like a thunder god. Countless people knelt on the ground to worship. Some of the strong cultivators from the Demon City were shocked. It seemed that the Thunder God City also brought Saint King weapons. Sure enough, the Thunder God's phantom was a huge battle armor. There were many people standing inside. They were the Thunder Gods who became saints. They were activating the battle armor and they were extremely powerful. In the starry sky, a spatial gate appeared. Following that, powerful figures appeared. They had long tails, horns on their heads, and green scales on their bodies emitted a cold light. These were the people from the Green Dragon clan. Their young master was captured and did not return. They finally could not help it. In the end, the immemorial ancient city had no choice but to open the spatial teleportation array again and use the same coordinates to teleport them. They chased all the way to the vicinity. This time they must catch the culprit. Damn it, I don't care about the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. How dare you kill our young master? These Green Dragon clan experts rushed over aggressively. However, when they arrived near the Double Rain planet, they trembled. Damn it, what was going on with this world? Why was it so terrifying? These saints were terrified. Even the saint venerables inside felt their hair stand on end. Elder, are we still going to take revenge on the 10,000 Swords Pavilion? These people hesitated. Previously, they had not only received the spatial coordinates from the immemorial ancient city lord, but they also received news. The other party knew the 10,000 Swords sect, so it was obvious that he was from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. Just as they were hesitating, the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion and the Double Rain planet heard the news and were instantly enraged. Someone dared to cause trouble for them. They directly shot out a destructive sword chi into the starry sky. The people from the Green Dragon clan were still hesitating, but in the next moment, they saw a destructive aura coming towards them. Before it arrived, their bodies were already shattered. They could not take it anymore. Run away quickly. These people from the Green Dragon clan fled crazily. But it was useless. When this sword descended, most of the Green Dragon clan's saints were killed. Only one of the Green Dragon clan's Saint Venerables escaped. Moreover, his body was shattered, leaving only his head behind. It was wrapped in his soul and escaped. His eyes were filled with endless fear and despair. He probably would not dare to mention revenge in this life. Lin Xian felt that it was about time. He released the fake Saint King weapon that he had created. That was something he had created using countless shards of saint artifacts. Many of these saint artifact fragments were obtained in the Green Mountain realm. Although they were all fragments, their power could not be underestimated. Now that he had combined them, it should be enough to pass off as the real thing. Moreover, even if they were discovered, they would probably be killed by then. As expected, when he released this thing, the eyes of the people from the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, Thunder God City, and 10,000 Demon City instantly turned red. This is something that the 10,000 Swords Pavilion has taken a fancy to. Scram. The darkness Saint Venerable roared. He controlled the Sword of Destruction and swept it across. No one dared to provoke it. Those who were weak all ran away. Those who were left were not strong enough to fight against the Saint King weapon. Therefore, only those who had the Saint King weapon could fight against it. For example, Thunder God Ching came out. He snorted coldly. If you want the treasure, let's talk with strength. They activated the Thunder God battle armor, forming a huge Thunder God phantom that stood indomitable and resisted the Sword of Destruction. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.